Hello and welcome back to my channel. Make sure you like and subscribe to my channel. Let's begin. You need to stop. I'm just wondering. Then stop. Where is he? The blue-haired Arankar said, leaping through the skies. His fraction departed earlier, and 2 hours later, nothing. In fact, their presences dropped completely. What the hell? Those BSTRDS better have not flaked on me. Snip, Tiger Dash, an Arankar, with a lopsided helmet shouted, before his head was completely destroyed. His body fell limply, and Yura clenched her fists. Wow, such a sad effort, she said. I don't even have a Zanpakuto, and you 5 weren't even a challenge. I'm not looking forward to facing your leader. What the hell? What happened to all of the hollows? Renji said. Urahara frowned. I guess Lord Muken couldn't stay away, he said. Why a Lord of Death would be here is strange though. Lord Muken. I would have never guessed that she was that strong. Ichigo said, arms crossed. It's still odd. Why would she bother investigating a minor demon appearance? You think that something is up? Renji asked. Urahara paused, then nodded. Just a hitch. Kurosaki, I'm going to ask you to stay out of this, Toshiro said. Seriously, I can't ask you to dash. A blur flew past the two, crashing into the nearby wall. Ichigo grabbed his badge, as the white-haired captain popped in his soul candy. Yo, the blue-haired Arankar said, which one you assholes fought Okuiora? What? The pasty hollow? Ichigo said, that would be I. What of it? The Arankar laughed, before firing off a 2-fingered Zero Blast, shredding open the chest of the white-haired captain. Ichigo pressed the Shinigami badge against his forehead, and cast away his body. The redhead drew his blade, and charged the Arankar, haphazardly. No intro, he said, just the way I like it. He blocked Ichigo's strike with his wrist, before kicking him away. The former substitute slid to his feet. What the hell? He exclaimed. He's not on a limiter, Ichigo, Kamen said. It doesn't matter, Ichigo said, mask covering his face. The Arankar prepared another Zero, but found Ichigo gripping him by his neck. What are you doing here? He asked, darkly. The Arankar chuckled. None of your business, he said. Grimjow Jagerjax, by the way. I really don't remember asking for your name. Grimjow smirked, as a Zero exploded from his hand, ripping open the former substitute's shoulder. Ichigo shrugged off the pain, and threw the Arankar into a wall, before preparing his own, Crimson Zero. Too slow. Grimjow shrieked, using Sonido to close in on Ichigo, and he delivered a devastating kick to the midsection. The redhead was lifted airborne, before he was blasted back into the ground, with a powerful Zero. Ichigo couldn't move. He was implanted deep into the pavement, and he couldn't move. How sad. Okuiora couldn't kill this. Disappointing. Ichigo. What are you worried about? Fight back. I bet I can. Don't worry about it, kid, Yura said, walking up behind him. Ichigo turned around, slightly. What are you dash? Who the hell are you? Grimjow shouted. Yura chuckled, as she drew her scimitar. I am the 5th Lord of Death, Muken Yura. You are currently infringing your right, as a hollow, to enter the realm of the living. Punishment, accordingly, is immediate execution, with no right to a trial. And you're going to hand out that punishment, little lady? I'm barely shorter than little, boy. And don't you worry, hollow. I'm gonna break you in half. Grimjow stabbed his hand toward Yura, who caught the attack, effortlessly. Try harder, next time, she said, before she tightened her grip, breaking the hand. Grimjow roared, ripping his hand from her grip. He prepared a Zero, which Yura retreated, to avoid. She grabbed Ichigo from his crater, and placed him over her shoulder. You alive? Yura asked, smirking. Why is your hair red? You're fine. What about you, hollow. You fucking beach, Grimjow snarled. Yura chuckled. I guess that you're fine too. Let's make this quick, will you? I agree, the Arrancar roared, using Sonido to appear right beside the lord, who had no time to react. Ichigo, however, summoned his sword to his hand, and fired off the most powerful Getsuga Tensho that he could muster. The attack wasn't that powerful, but Grimjow was completely wide open, and it showed, scarring his chest. The blue-haired hollow fell backward, shocked by what was happening. He, wide-eyed, prepared to draw his blade, when a garganta opened. Out of the portal, Tozen grabbed the hollow, and pulled him in. Captain Tozen can aim, what a pleasant surprise. Yura said, I would ask on what's with the new alignment, but alas, you're not under my jurisdiction. But that hollow broke the law, and I'm just doing my job. Aizen-sama is the only one going to issue punishment to this insolent subordinate, Tozen said, angrily. Yura tilted her head. Oh, you so angry. I'm sure Sosuke won't mind. Kaname, rather than offer a response, merely closed the garganta. Yura shook her head softly. All right. Let's get you two patched up. Isshin sat on his couch, a cup of bourbon nearby. He knew that this was going to be a difficult night, but he knew that it had to happen. The door to the house opened, and Ichigo walked in. With a heavy sigh, he walked in the living room, and stood face to face with his father. Ichigo, Isshin simply said. Ichigo lowered his glance, before finding a surge of confidence deep inside of him. Whatever was going to happen to me, it was going to happen regardless. I'm not going to fight it anymore. I'm not going to shy away it. And I am not afraid. Ichigo said, I need your help, Dad. Ichigo, you know that I am here, Isshin said. I know. But this was my fight. I was determined that I could do this myself. But I can't do this by myself. Not anymore. I need your help. Ichigo looked around, trying to find anything else he could say. Ichigo, Isshin said, there isn't much I can do. I don't know how to help you. I don't know how to save you. But, if there is one thing I can do, I can help you get stronger. I know that won't do much, but for the war you are about to wage in, you will need all the help you can get. And I will get you there. I promise. Ichigo looked his father in the eyes, and found the will to smile. A true genuine smile. He knew while this might not change anything, it would at least ease his worries. Chapter 29, Tuesday's Gone. Yuryu, is there something that you want to talk to me about? Ryukin said, knowing what was going to be asked, but really not wanted it to be. It would be for the best if Yuryu never regained his powers. But of course, Yuryu wanted nothing more than to be a Quincy. And, despite his impure blood, the boy did have some serious potential. But it was a telling sign if Hayato considered Yuryu to be undesirable for his plans. Regardless, he had a duty to fulfill. Father, Yuryu said, could you please restore my powers? Ryukin narrowed his eyes, and stood up. Grimjow, your actions were rather immature, and cost us 5 of your brothers, Aizen said. Duly, do you have anything to say about this? The blue-haired Arrancar scoffed. A waste. Allow me to execute this man, Aizen-sama, Tozen said. His actions were irresponsible, and because of him, we lost valuable soldiers. For him to throw our missions in jeopardy for such a selfish reason is surely a just reasoning to put him to death. You sound hurt, Tozen-sama, Grimjow said. If I say that I'm sorry, would that make everything better? No remorse as well. I see, Aizen said, nodding. I see no reason to punish Grimjow for his actions. Sir, I cannot agree with that. Tozen shouted. Grimjow was reckless. His fraction was killed, and now, the Lords of Death may now be against us. I truly doubt Lord Muken cares enough to tell any of her fellow lords. Grimjow, you are excused. The Arrancar smiled, as Tozen silently fumed. Well, he was silently fuming, before he erupting, unsheathing his zanpakuto, and slicing off the Arrancar's left arm. With a quick flick of his wrist, a purple burst of energy exploded out, destroying Grimmjow's arm. "What the F-?" he screamed, grabbing at his sword. "Stop," Aizen simply said, "if you were to attack Tozen, then I would have no reason to pardon you." Grimmjow bared his teeth, but relented, turning back to the former captain. "Are you happy now, Kaname?" Aizen asked, dully. Tozen shook his head. "While I still believe this man should be executed for what he did, if this is your judgment, so be it." Grimmjow merely scoffed. "What is this place?" Ichigo asked, looking around a white, empty void. "This is a pocket dimension that Kisuke created," Ishin said, arms crossed. "I used to get back in shape after my powers returned. It'll keep us unnoticed and everyone out of harm's way." Ichigo knocked an eyebrow. Pocket dimension. Similar to Hueco Mundo, or the Siriidii, this small block of universal space, is just one of the unlimited amount of small dimensions. Ichigo frowned. "So what are we going to do?" he asked. Ishin grinned, cracking his knuckles. "Good question, son," he said, drawing his zanpakuto. Ichigo stared, wide-eyed, at his father, bewildered. "Serious?" he said, as his father charged. "You look like crap," Rukia said, with a small smirk on her face, sitting in the classroom. Ichigo groaned. "I feel like crap," he said, "last night was not a friendly one." Rukia shook her head. "Maybe if you stopped drinking all of this coffee, you would feel better." "While I don't disagree with you, I have it in me to stop. I'm addicted." "You sad, pathetic man. What are you doing here, anyway?" Ichigo asked. "There is no reason for you to be in school anymore." "Because I want to," she answered, "and it gives me something to do during the day. And these uniforms are super cute, don't cha think?" "Sure. Ultra cute," Ichigo said, "I'm so tired." Rukia formed a concerned look on her face. "What's wrong, Ichigo?" she asked, softly. "Everything good in the Kurosaki household?" "Too good," Ichigo replied, voice muffled by the desk. "Have you ever been in a situation that you try to understand, yet no matter what you do answers never come?" Rukia's eyes widened, more taken back by the question. I can't save I have." That's good. No one deserves that." A garganta opened, as 5 Arrancar, 3 female, and 2 males appeared. "Honestly, I don't know why we were paired with you," one of the females, with black cropped hair, and a pair of mismatched eyes said. "Us 3 would have been fine." "This isn't about you, Apache," one of the 2 males said, closing his silver eyes, and moving of his spiky blue bangs out of his face. Behind the hollow mask fragments that highlighted the right side of his face. "We have a mission that requires 5. Don't speak back to me, brat. I outrank you, anyway. Rank doesn't matter. Can we stop fighting, and get to work?" "Agreed," another female, this one with long black hair, and lavender eyes said. "The faster we get through this, the faster Apache can stop being a brat." "I'm Dash." "Cease," the other male, a large, olive-skinned man, with short blonde hair, and dark green eyes, with the remnants of his hollow mask covering his left eye, said. "We need to go." "Let's go, Mila, Sung-sun. Let's show these losers how it's done." Apache shouted as she dashed off the building. Mila rose, the 3rd female Arrancar sighed, the idiot, as she followed. "Sorry about that, Adonai," Sung-sun said, before leaving. "Adonai," the blue-haired Arrancar sighed. "Women," the other man said, chuckling softly. Adonai nodded. "You feel that, Ichigo?" Kamen asked. "Feels like there are some Arrancar running about." "What are you going to do about that?" "Sleep," Ichigo replied. "I'm too tired to be worried about this crap. They aren't as strong as the 2 from before, or Grimmjow. Not worth my time. Ooh, baby needs a nap." "Shut up." Walking into his house, he dropped his bag and groaned. "Oni-san. How was your day? Yuzu asked, poking her head out of the kitchen. Ichigo shook his head and flopped onto the couch. Long. I'm going to sleep. Put my dinner in the fridge, if you could kindly. Yuzu's smile faded. Is everything okay? It's as okay as things will get. Don't be worried, Yuzu. I could have sworn that I felt a Shinigami here, the large Aaronkar said. I must have been mistaken. Nope, you're not, Ichigo said, blade resting on his shoulder, but I'm guessing that you're the lucky one that I get to fight. I don't remember you being in the briefing. Maybe Aizen-sama does not consider you a threat, the Aaronkar said. Regardless, it will be a pleasure to fight you. My name is Amadeo Abandonado. Madarame Ichigo, the bald Shinigami said, aren't I a lucky one? You look pretty strong. Amadeo tilted his head slightly. What about your partner? What's his name? Ayasegawa Yumachika, the one called out said, don't worry about me. I'm just an observer. Amadeo shrugged as he drew his blade. Are you ready? Sure. Let me dash Ichigo, before being blasted away, by an open palm strike to the chest, sending him flying into a wall. You didn't seem very ready, Madarame-san. Wow, they're just letting anyone become a Shinigami, huh, Apache said, stalking Rukia. As she leaped across the rooftops, she's doing a PSS poor job at finding me. We aren't very good at what? Rukia asked, from behind her. Apache rolled her eyes, and halted her movement, in a three-point stance. I guess we can get started, then. Man, I was having fun too, Ranjaku, hands behind her head. She was enjoying her time at Manor Oriheim, but of course, some dumb Aaronkar had to interrupt her entertainment. What a drag. Mila rose, down from the skies, landed in front of Ranjaku. The female slowly reached for her blade. Man, this is gonna be easy, Mila said, smirking. Ranjaku gripped her sword tightly. You're gonna regret that. Where is it? Renji said, looking into his phone screen. I can't sense where the Aaronkar went. This is crazy. I'm not in it, Sung-sun said, dully. I would appreciate it if you don't refer to me as such. Renji quickly drew his Zanpakuto. What are you doing here? What's with the constant invasions? Sung-sun shrugged. Does it matter? Renji smirked. I guess not. Toshiro jumped from rooftop to rooftop, toward where Ranjaku was fighting her opponent, when a thin needle cut his cheek, turning his attention away. He landed on the ground, and quickly applied a thin layer of ointment to the cut. In front of him, Adonai landed, softly. It seems you were too focused on getting to your subordinate, rather than paying attention to your surroundings, he said, young captain, while I am sure that you are strong, haste will lead to death. I don't need your criticism, Toshiro said, Zanpakuto drew. Adonai shrugged, not really knowing what he expected the young man to say. You didn't let me do my lucky dance. Ichigo shouted, no introductions. How shameless. What is a lucky dance? Amadeo said, is that some kind of Shinigami ritual or something? It's my ritual. Now dash, Ichigo said before a fist slammed him back into the wall. The Shinigami, furious now, drew his Zanpakuto, and charged at the Aaronkar. Amadeo deflected the blade with his left wrist and delivered a massive punch to the midsection with his right. Ichigo fluttered in the air, before Amadeo, using Sonido, appeared above him, and kicked him into the ground, leaving a crater. Madarame-san, are you sure that you are ready? The Aaronkar asked, sincerely. Ichigo climbed out of the crater and growled. God damn it, he said, spitting out blood, you are a lot stronger than I thought. I guess I'm gonna have used this. Your Zanpakuto? I was wondering why you didn't activate Ushirkai immediately. Ichigo squeezed his Zanpakuto tightly. Extend, Hozukimaru. Amadeo tilted his head, as Ichigo stood, with his released weapon. Now, Amadeo, are you ready? The Aaronkar smiled, and nodded, as he formed a defensive unarmed stance. I am. A burst of energy and Amadeo was in Ichiku's face. The Shinigami ducked to dodge the straight right, spun, and replied with an upward slash, cutting the right arm of the Arrancar. With a grunt, Amadeo punched the ground, cracking the earth. Ichigo spun out of the way, before raising Hozukimaru to block a strike. Split, Hozukimaru, croaked Ichigo, and the blade on the end of the three-section blade burst out, cutting the cheek of the Arrancar. Amadeo frowned before the blade recoiled, and Ichigo moved forward, sticking the hollow in the left shoulder. He then tore the blade out, and knocked Amadeo back, with a drop kick to the chest. Heh, very good, the hollow said, clutching his wound, but not good enough to break my defenses. I was right. This fight will be enjoyable. Defenses? What the hell are you talking about? Ichigo asked. I cut you, and I stabbed you in your chest. Yes, but that is only my first layer of defense. A true wound is one that can cut me deeper. Amadeo looked around, reforming his stance. Here I come, Madarame-san, he shouted, shooting forward, catching Ichigo slightly off guard. Ah, sheet. You aren't too impressive, shorty. Apache shouted, on the offensive, against an overpowered Rukia. Heido 33, Sokatsui. Rukia chanted, firing off a blast of blue fire, which Apache effortlessly deflected, with a zero. Rukia hastily attempted to prepare a thin defense, but the hollow was too quick and cut her right shoulder with her chakrams. Heido 73, Soren Sokatsui, the petite Shinigami shouted, firing the blast point blank at the Arrancar. Apache fired another zero into the blast, but this time, she was engulfed and knocked back. Dance, Sodi no Shirayuki. Rukia shouted, as a strong gust of cold air came over the two. Apache rose back to her feet and sneered. What's that? She asked before a white circle developed from beneath her. Some no mai, Tsukishiro. The circle started to glow, as snow started to rise. Apache, in self-defense, flexed her spiritual pressure outward, to protect herself. A white beam of ice and snow exploded upward, devouring everything in its radius. Rukia exhaled and sheathed her sword before laughter filled her ears. That was actually kinda cool, Apache said, grinning, but you still aren't very impressive, little girl. Rukia hurried for her Zanpakuto but found a zero sending her flying off the roof. Wow, poor show. Apache said, crossing her arms, I thought you'll do better than that. Heido 33, Sokatsui. Rukia shouted, from behind the Arrancar, who took the shot, completely defenseless. Apache crashed into the ground, and rolled off the roof, catching her momentum before crashing into the ground, managing to fix her positioning and landing on her feet. She growled, searching for Rukia, before the petite Shinigami landed in front of her, and stabbing her in her collarbone. It's over. Rukia shouted. Apache, angrily, retreated, and grabbed her Zanpakuto. It's not over until I say so, she screamed, move, Sierva. What's the matter, cow? Can't be bothered to fight, roared an absolutely furious Mila Rose, who was on the offensive, haphazardly slashing at a retreating Ranjaku, who was also seething something mad. Shut up, you stupid gorilla, the blonde exclaimed, parrying a strike, giving her the advantage on offense. Ranjaku hurried with a small downward slash, catching Mila on her arm. Unfortunately for her, the attack was non-effective, and the Arrancar had no problems absorbing the blow, and delivering one of her own, massively more effective. Ranjaku bounced on the ground, back to her feet, and found her sword clashing with Mila's. Not so easy, huh? The Arrancar asked, smiling. Ranjaku grunted, pushing off, and sliding to a stop. Growl, Hiniko. Ranjaku shouted, as her Zanpakuto turned to ash. Mila rose an eyebrow. What the hell? She asked, as a flurry of ash cut her in the midsection. She screamed in frustration before another flurry came her way. This time, she reacted with a bala, dispersing the attack. Neat trick, Mila said, but it's not going to work. I'm much stronger than you, Shinigami. Ranjiku glared at the hollow, who spun her broadsword, and grinned. With a sigh, the blonde Shinigami started to form a strategy. I guess that might work. Would you make this easy, Shinigami-san? Sung-sun asked, firing volley after volley at Renji, who, while being able to avoid the brunt of the damage, wasn't able to get away from all of the attacks. To reverse the flow of the fight, Renji unhinged Zabumaru, which the slender Arrancar knocked away, effortlessly. Renji growled, frustrated. The limiter placed on him was making this fight unnecessarily difficult, but right now, it really didn't matter. And if he was struggling with the limiter, then how were those without the limiter doing? Frustrating. Still, Renji knew he could turn the tide of the battle if the limiter was removed. And he knew that if the fight continues as such. Focusing, Renji extended Zabumaru forward, which, again, was deflected by Sung-sun. However, this time, Renji used the deflection as a means to approach, and deliver an open palm strike to the chest, knocking the Arrancar back. The redhead followed tightly, aiming for another attack. However, Sung-sun had different plans, firing off a bala, mainly to keep the distance between the two from becoming too disadvantageous to her. Renji was forced to respect her attack and halted his assault. I wonder if Aizen-sama would be okay with this, the Arrancar said, aloud to herself. The mission wasn't to kill the Shinigami, but she truly wondered if it was okay for her to do so. After all, if she used her resurrection, the fight would be over in minutes. Well, I said I wanted this to be over quickly, she said, strangled to death, Anaconda. Why are they activating their resurrections? Adonai said, this isn't according to the mission. Toshiro grit his teeth. You aren't taking me seriously, Arrancar, he growled. Adonai narrowed his eyes. I'm not fighting you. Our mission is to scout. Whatever they are doing, isn't planned. Regardless, if you want, I can fight you, young captain. Toshiro drew his blade, and charged, swinging for the neck of the hollow, who deflected the attack with his wrist. Don't leave yourself so open, young captain, Adonai said, firing a zero into the midsection of the boy. Adonai sighed, then drew his sword, a very simple katana. I have no desire to kill you, Shinigami. But, I would not be against the act. Sit upon the frozen heavens, Hyarinmaru. Hitsugaya shouted, as his blade frosted over, and a dragon made of ice appeared, from the tip of his sword. The dragon roared, before charging the Arrancar, who stood still, impassively. Impressive. With you youth, I expected your Shirkai to be weaker than this, Adonai said, before swatting the dragon away, with the back of his hand. How? Toshiro asked, were you a Vasto Lord before you became an Arrancar? Adonai shook his head. I had no interest in becoming a Vasto Lord. Once you reach the highest level, the thrill of death can no longer reach you. I never exceeded my Jillian status. Toshiro was taken aback at this, before he smirked. I guess that means that I can kill you, he said, Bankai. Daiguren Hyarinmaru. Adonai frowned, clicking a device that he pulled out of his pocket, that started flashing red. 5 minutes is all that I will give to you. Ichigo slid across the ground, a fresh wound leaking on the top of his head. He struggled to get up, using his Zanpakuto as a crutch. Amadeo stood still as if he was waiting for him to rise. Do you need help, Madarame-san? The Arrancar asked. I wouldn't mind if your partner were to fight me as well. This is my fight, DMNIT. Ichigo screamed, why haven't you killed me yet? The Arrancar shrugged. We are not here to kill you, he said, and I would only kill you if I felt as if my life were in immediate danger. Killing just to kill is not my cup of tea. Underestimating your opponent, huh? Ichigo shouted, try this one out. Bankai. Ryuman Hozukimaru. A strong burst of energy, followed by the sound of clanking chains filled the area. Amadeo smiled. How wonderful. I was not expecting you to have a bankai. Ichigo, wordlessly, swung his arms, whipping the axe blade at the hollow. Amadeo quickly rose his arms to defend himself, before the blade crashed into him, and the ground exploded around him. It was a very brief, very quiet second, before the axe blade was returned to its sender, impaling Ichigo into the ground. What the hell? Yumachika shouted, standing over the crater. Your bankai is interesting, but it was literally the worst possible choice to use against me, Amadeo said. My powers are all defensive, and a good defense will forever best a good offense. Ichigo grit his teeth, but could not remove the axe, keeping his body firmly implanted. I enjoyed myself plenty, Madarame-san, Amadeo said before a beeping noise was heard. The hollow reached out, grabbing a floating ball that was producing the noise, which he promptly shut off. It seems that I must go. I do hope that you are not too seriously injured, friend. The errand car disappeared, leaving the two Shinigami behind. Rukia crashed into a wall, and before she could even react, Apache, now covered in brown fur, slammed her again, impaling Rukia through the midsection, with one of her antlers. What's the matter, girl? Can't hang. Apache taunted, grinning madly before she flung the petite Shinigami off of her horns, and onto the ground. Rukia coughed, and tried to get up, but a kick to her fresh wound stunned her. Apache, not one to let her enemies go lightly, followed up with another kick, punting her about 20 yards through the air. The errand car, before she could continue, heard the beeping noise, indicating that her time was up. She growled, blasting the device, before glaring at the fallen Shinigami. Be lucky that a-hole is so strict. Apache said, reverting out of her resurrection. She opened a garganta and scoffed. Milo was truly getting set off. Before, the Shinigami was actually trying to fight, but now, she was just hiding. She made no effort to attack him, just fleeing. Maybe she knew that she couldn't win. Where are you, you stupid cow? Mila exclaimed. Nothing. Come on, man, you're not making this fun. The errand car jumped from the roof that she was on. She looked around, trying to sense for the blonde, but nothing. Fine, I'm leaving. Whatever. She began to walk away before a ball of lightning came flying her way. Mila cut the attack with her broadsword, but, following the small explosion of static energy, ash appeared. What the hell is this? She shouted before the ash started whirling around her. Before she could fire a zero, the ash collapsed on her, cutting her deeply. Mila fell to her knees, gritting her teeth. Hado 31. Shikaho. Ranjaku shouted, firing a ball of condensed heat at the felled hollow, blasting her away. The blonde, despite her attack connecting solidly with her opponent, kept her guard. You stupid cow. Mila roared, charging Ranjaku from behind. She barely had enough time to react, as Mila's broadsword met flesh, albeit softened by Hiniko. Ranjaku fell back, spraying her Zanpakuto's ashes at the errand car, who promptly scattered them with a bala. Trying a new tactic, Ranjaku used another Shikaho, firing it at the ground underneath Mila, to force her airborne. It did not work, Mila simply slashed through the Hado blast. I think I've had enough of your garbage, she said, pointing her Zanpakuto at the blonde. Beep. 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 Mila Rose growled, opening a garganta. Don't know why they put that guy in charge, she exclaimed, whatever. Ranjaku thought about following her through the portal, but she knew that to be suicide. The Shinigami sheathed her blade and started sensing where her captain was. Renji, surrounded by Hihio Zabumaru, wondered how the fight was going so poorly for him. He knew about the limiter put on him, Captain Hitsugaya, and Ranjaku, was going to make things more difficult, but this was insanity. After the girl activated her resurrection, she was a completely new combatant. And now he had to change something, quickly. To start, Renji whipped his bankai at the Naga, trying to get Sung-sun off of her rhythm, but the errand car deflected the attack with the end of her tail. She then fired a pink zero, which Renji dodged by jumping into the air. However, Sung-sun used Sonido, closing the distance between the two, and smacking him into the game, with her tail. A large cloud of dust scattered, obscuring view for the two. You know, I was expecting a little more, Shinigami-san, Sung-sun said, mockingly. Renji picked himself up and exhaled. It's not over, he said, pained, I still got a couple secrets up my sleeves. The redhead aimed Hihio Zabumaru at the hollow, who coiled herself around the whip. In an unexpected move, Renji detached the blades, taking the errand car by surprise, slicing her up. Sung-sun fired off an emergency zero, which Renji blocked, by reattaching his bankai. The vice captain then fired a straight shot, where the snakehead bit into the errand car's stomach, and slammed her into the ground. To free herself, Sung-sun fired off another zero, blasted back the head, and granting her escape. Now, out of the clasp of the snakehead, Sung-sun fired off a bala, something Renji had no shot of avoiding or defending, and the Shinigami was blasted away, fresh wound on his chest. Sung-sun started charging another pink zero before the familiar beeping device appeared. The errand car sighed, and reverting to her original form. I guess we're done here, Shinigami-san, she said, goodbye. The errand car disappeared into a garganta, leaving Renji behind. The redhead picked himself up and grabbed his cell phone. What the hell happened here? Your bankai is unique, young captain, Adonai said, as Toshiro panted, bleeding from his forehead, but it is clearly unfinished. Do you have anything else? Toshiro swung his blade, and a wave of ice was created, with Adonai smashed through. Minutes ago, that actually would have hurt, he said, I see. You're done. I guess I can call this mission complete. Toshiro ground his teeth and charged, headstrong. Wait, he said, mere seconds before Adonai's right hand crushed through his ribcage. The errand car lifted him to eye level, before kicking him off of his hand. I see. You have plenty of potential. I'm sure that's why Aizen-sama thinks of you as so much of a threat, he said, but you are not there yet. I felt no fear today. At no point did I think that you were going to be able to kill me, young captain. And for that, I bid you, farewell. Ichigo stood in the middle of a forest, alone, hands in his shihakusho pockets, not looking forward to the bit of training that he was up for. Kamen was trying to bother him earlier, about this, but Ichigo hung up on him and was left alone with his thoughts. And boy was that depressing. Ichigo! Isshin shouted, from the top of a tree, holding a white vest, with a quincy cross on the backside. Ichigo knocked an eyebrow. What is that thing? He asked. Isshin jumped down and handed the cloth to his son. It's a power expression, he said, grinning, this will only sap at your spiritual powers, but it will also highlight where you are in this forest. Ichigo blinked. So, why should I wear this then? Because, that is the object that makes this training session happen. With this, you can focus on your spiritual control, and become more efficient. Ichigo sighed, before shrugging, in light agreement. Okay. How long do I have to wear this? 6 hours. Ichigo paused. Are you serious? Deadly serious. Don't worry, I won't use my bankai. Ichigo shook his head, before pausing once more. Wait, what are you talking about? He asked. Isshin giggled. What? You didn't know? He said, accusingly, I'm going to be chasing you down, in this forest, as you flee. Why do you think that it highlights where you are? Ichigo stood, mouth agape. Are you kidding me? Too bad, so sad. Time starts now. Isshin, excitedly, shouted, using Shuunpa to disappear from the scene. Ichigo looked at the cloth, then back up into the sky. Son of a beach. Chapter 30, The Hardest Walk. Ichigo could not believe it. He did not want to believe it. Honestly, if he wasn't witnessing it right now, Ichigo couldn't even dream of this happening, even in his darkest nightmares. But it was happening. And holy shit, it was terrifying. With every swing of his sword, Ishin was setting off the equivalent of a nuke off. His father, the goofy, stupid, creepy, and slightly abusive idiot that he was a walking-talking atomic bomb. And apparently, he was stronger before the loss of his powers. What? The apple did not fall far from the tree, this time, huh? Cayman said, smirking. Ichigo groaned, clutching at the stupid Quincy vest he was forced to wear. Oh yeah. That thing SCKED. The power expression, or whatever it was called, was sapping at his powers like a leech, and it hurt. Even using his basic evasive movements were incredibly taxing. This was not pleasant. And he had to wear this thing for 6 hours. How much more? Ichigo breathed. You're halfway through. Come on, Ichigo. Sun.ave.beach I can't feel him. There's a reason why he's doing this. You do need to improve your control. Shut up, Cayman. Ichigo. Ishin cried out of Ichigo's sight. The redhead growled, looking for an exit route. Ishin flew through the skies, somewhat gracefully, sword ablaze with insanely hot white flames. Ichigo quickly rolled into the bushes. Silly Ichigo. Bushes can't protect you from me. Ishin cried, as he crashed into the ground, creating a massive vertical explosion. When the flames dispersed, the forestry, and Ichigo had disappeared. Maybe that boy is better than I thought. We are going to die. Ichigo breathed. You better not die. We still have so much to do. Like what? Like get it in. Get knee-deep in the pink, Cayman said. Ichigo shook his head. I swear to God, I hate you. Ah, why so serious? If you're gonna die soon, you might as well get it wet. Please stop talking. You're distracting Dash. Pay attention. Ishin screamed, Zanpakuto ready. God damn it. Cayman, how much longer? 1 more hour. Stop complaining. Cayman said. Shut up that I haven't used my mask, yet, how long do I get? 5, maybe 7 minutes. I wouldn't bother. Great. Ichigo sighed, dropping his head. The artificial forest was essentially destroyed. His father, despite him getting back in fighting shape, was easily smashing through the forest. He was just swinging around his natural power. Well, he was a former captain. I guess it was understandable. Just stupid. Well, at least it was just 1 more hour. He could do that. Just 1 more hour. Just 1 more. Ichigo. Ishin shouted, smiling, nowhere to hide, son. We fight, like men. Ichigo blinked. Are you trying to kill me? He asked. Nonsense. Take off the vest. And then, we fight. Ichigo shook his head, taking off the vest. This is dumb. 1 hour, my son. 1 hour to prove your power. This is so dumb. Ichigo said. Dude, you are going to die. Cayman said, chuckling. Wow, Ichigo, you look worse than yesterday. Rukia said, smiling. Ichigo, laying face down, on his desk, offered no response. If you want to know, I'm doing okay after yesterday. You know, when I was in a fight. With an errand car. No response. Kurosaki-kun. Are you okay? Oriheim asked, softly. No response. He's been like that for 15 minutes, Mizuiro said, from his seat. Sato-kun tried waking him earlier, but nothing. I think he might be unconscious. Or dead, Kigo said, before a shoe smacked him in the face, thrown by Tatsuki. Shut up. He's fine, she said, I think. He's probably fine. I'm fine. Ichigo said weakly, I'll be okay, please, just stop talking so loudly that I have a migraine. And cramps, bloating. Ichigo. Do you got a girl that you fancy? Ishin asked, mediating, Zanpakuto in his lap. Ichigo opened one of his eyes, mask on his face. Girl that I fancy. How old are you? He replied, incredulously. I'm just asking. You got a lot going for you, so a girl gotta be following close. A lot going for me? Ichigo asked, curious, now what is that supposed to mean? You got good genes. You're handsome, just like your pop, and well built. You should be the stud in some lucky lady's stable if you know what I mean. No. Wow. Ichigo, no one. Not even one. No. Wow. I remember when I was your age. I really don't want to hear these stories. Ichigo said. Ishin shrugged. I just figured you would have someone. Not interested. It's not that I'm not interested. It's more that I doubt any girl wants to put up with my insanity. What about Inoue-chan? Ichigo shrugged. Someone who doesn't deserve better than me. Inoue has had it rough. I really don't want to hurt her further. What do you mean? Ishin asked, sincerely, are you so sure you will hurt her? I'm sure I'll hurt anyone. I'm a pain magnet. All the girls in my life can do much better than me. I'll probably, if I live that long, end up with some random girl from college I'm not too fond of. Ichigo, you need to stop being so down on yourself. You're a good kid, and I'm sure you'll be a good man. You can make some lucky lady very happy if you chose to. I don't doubt, well, I think I can do that. But, the other thing. It truly doesn't matter, Ichigo. While Masaki's passing was the worst day in my life, it did not break me. It could not break me, because of the time we had together, we made the most of it, and I knew that those memories would last forever. I had no regrets. Ichigo sat still, as his mask quivered slightly. You don't have to heed my advice, but if you could, would you at least give it a try? It may make the end more comfortable. Ichigo sat in his seat, relatively uncomfortable. School had become a bed away from home. He gave it his all, trying so very desperately to stay away, but he had no chance. Luckily, since his testing schools have not taken a massive hit, Oki-sensei turned a blind eye toward his inattentiveness. His friends, however, did not. He could tell them the truth. He could tell them that his dad is a Shinigami and that he was training him every night, but that honestly wasn't bad advice. Honestly, if they knew that his dad was a Shinigami, nothing would happen. They would know, and nothing would change. Hopefully. Ichigo peered over to Rukia's desk, to see the girl enamored in some weird manga or something. Of course, she was. Hey, Rukia, he said, to no response. With a soft tap on the top of her head, getting her attention, the redhead repeated his statement. What do you want? I was really feeling this book, Rukia whined. Ichigo shrugged. I wanted to ask you a question. Can you make this quick? Seriously? I just wanted to know what you think about all of this stuff that happening. With the Eren car? It's odd, but the ones we fought the other day didn't seem too interested in killing us. Ichigo frowned, a bit curious. I'm not so worried about them. I worried. About the everything else. What everything else? Oh right. Rukia didn't know about the soul bonding thing. Ichigo always did wonder how he was going to tell her how this. He knew everyone was going to take it hard, but especially Rukia, seeing that she was the one to give him the powers, was probably going to take it the hardest. Honestly, he would prefer it that Rukia never knew, that wasn't possible. But it could, and had, to wait. Kurosaki-kun, you want to stay here? Orihime asked as Ichigo stood at her door. The orange-haired teen nodded. I need a nice, and peaceful place to study, and right now, that is not the Kurosaki household, he replied, I'll only be a couple of hours. Okay, Kurosaki-kun. We can study together. Ichigo nodded, and smiled, walking through the doorframe. Getsuga Tensho. Isshin shouted, firing the energy wave at Ichigo, who slashed through it, with an open palm. Isshin chuckled, as Ichigo paused to catch his breath. You're getting good at this thing, Ichigo, he said, I'm impressed. The redhead glared at his father, searching for the energy to regain his stance. Now, let's disturb that tempo a bit more. Getsuga Tensho. What happened to your arm? Orihime asked, standing beside his desk. Ichigo, barely awake, looked up lazily and shrugged. I burned it yesterday, he half lied. Oh, that's no good. After school, I can take care of that, she offered, smiling nervously, and blushing slightly. Ichigo grinned. He always loved her reactions to him. It made him feel good. I'll like that a lot. What's the matter? Isshin shouted, slashing at his son. Ichigo deflected the attack, with his nameless blade, and replied with a straight stab, which the elder ducked out of the way. Your Zenjutsu is improving, Ichigo. Still terrible, but improving. Wow, thanks, Dad, Ichigo said, irritated, recovering from his attack, and returning on the offensive, with an overhead slash, which Isshin easily countered, first knocking the blade away, then responding with a lazy stab to the shoulder. You're still awful at this, Ichigo. Getsuga Tensho. Ah, Ichikuin is so cute when he's sleeping, Ranjaku said, smiling. Ranjaku-san, he doesn't like to be called that, Orihime gasped. The blonde giggled. Honestly, I would prefer if Ichigo didn't crawl to your door every time he needed help, Orihime, Rukia said, but that's just me. You should stop healing him every time he gets into a scrap. I asked, Ichigo said, catching the attention of the three females, she said yes. It would be rude of me to turn her down then. Oh, and if you ever call me Ichikun again, I will cut your tongue out. Ranjaku rolled her eyes. Unfulfilled threat number 2. You are really aching for some hurt now, huh? Today, I'm going to learn you some Kido, okay? Isshin said, grinning, and holding a ball of fire in his left hand. Ichigo narrowed his eyes. Why do I need to know this? He asked. I know how to fire Zero Blasts, and they seem much more powerful than Kido. Boy, Kido isn't just used offensively. It can be used for defensive, strategic, and trapping purposes. And maybe, it can help augment your hollow powers. Ichigo, tell him that I'm not a hollow again, Kamen ordered. That's great and all, but that doesn't give me a reason to learn this again. Isshin cupped his chin. Well, how about this incentive, he said, smirking. Ichigo rose an eyebrow. Remember when I told you that the lovely Matsumoto Ranjaku was my vice captain? That obnoxious blonde staying with Inoue? I remember that. What I didn't tell you was before I was the captain of the 10th squad, I was a high-ranking member of Onmitsukido. I don't see where you are going with this. Using my incredible stealth abilities, I set out to do the impossible. Get super CC pics of Ranjaku-san. Ichigo blinked. Seriously? Ichigo deadpanned. It's true. Isshin cried, tears streaming down his eyes. Up to that point, it was the greatest accomplishment in my life. Ichigo pinched the bridge of his nose. My God, you are an idiot. Hey Ichigo, don't judge, Kamen said, I wanna see these pictures. For educational reasons. And stuff. Shut up Kamen. I would agree with you internal friend if I could hear him. Isshin shouted, this is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. To see Ranjaku-san in her prime, at her sexiest. What kind of man could turn that down? Wait, you mean she looked hotter than she already does? Ichigo asked, which his father responded with a strong nod. Ichigo looked around. Well, since we gotta do something, I might as well earn a prize. Learn me how to Kido. Isshin smirked. I haven't seen you around for a while, Quincy, Ichigo said, I assume you're doing okay. Yuryu glared at the former substitute, and walked past him, without sharing a word. What an a-hole. Kamen said. Ichigo shook his head. He's just going through a lot. Unlike me, he had his powers his entire life, so the sudden loss of them is affecting him hard. He'll be fine. It might be he knows that you are a pure Quincy, and he's not now. Have you ever thought about that? Ichigo tilted his head. Actually, I haven't. His father probably spilled the beans on me. Well, that's a bit unfortunate, I guess. Whatever. Still an a-hole. You didn't choose your bloodline. 2 weeks. 2 weeks of non-stop training. 2 weeks of the most obnoxious, body-wrecking, incredibly intense training he could think of, and holy shit, he felt the effects. Ichigo didn't feel more powerful, but he felt like he was in complete control of his powers. Every technique he had, he felt that he could do it much, much more efficiently now. And now, his body failures rarely happened. His control had improved to the point where his most powerful techniques were slight drains on his power reserve. Unbelievable. And to think, this was the work of 13, going on 14 nights of training. It was completely amazing to think. Ichigo. Isshin said, clapping his hands, your growth in the past 2 weeks has been amazing. While there is much for you to learn, I feel that you have grasped everything that I had taught you, with at least a vice-captain's proficiency. Even Zanjutsu, arguably your weakest quality coming in. I'm very proud. Ichigo nodded. Now, let's consider this a midterm, the stubbly man said, seriously, drawing his Zanpakuto, and this time, I won't be holding back. Ichigo grinned, as his Zanpakuto materialized in his right hand. I would hope you don't, old man, he said, that wouldn't be good for your health. Chapter 31. Teenage Riot. 2 weeks prior. Are you sure that you want to train him? Yoruchi asked, with heavy apprehension in her voice. I'm not so sure that it's a great idea. Isshin, arms crossed, nodded, knowing why she felt that way. I know that you're concerned, but this is the best way to make sure he doesn't kill us all. And besides, he needs help controlling his powers anyway, Isshin said. Yoruchi narrowed her eyes. This isn't some half-brained revenge plot against Sosuke, she asked. The father of 3 shook his head. Aizen isn't my enemy. And besides, I don't think my training is going to make Ichigo much stronger. Just further his understanding of his own powers. Current day. It was truly unbelievable what 2 good works of hard work could do. Isshin grinned, deflecting an overhand strike from his son, looking back on where Ichigo started, and where he was now. Ichigo still had to grow, as he still had not unlocked his Shirkai, but it was clear that he was powerful enough without it. Without his mask, Isshin estimated that he was on level with some of the strongest vice-captains that he had ever seen. With the mask, it was the threat of his power increasing, as it didn't, but access to new, extremely powerful techniques that Ichigo had worked hard to master. And still, Ichigo lacked the desire to fight. This wasn't a bad thing, in theory, if Ichigo instead of fighting, went for the kill, but it was worrying. Ichigo, focus. Isshin shouted, swinging his arm forward, nicking the cheek of his son, who winced slightly, mostly out of irritation, rather than pain. You need to focus, old man, Ichigo said, deeply, delivering a simple one-handed move of his sword, slicing the shoulder of the former captain, who smirked in response. Ichigo blinked. Well, I know where I get my pain tolerance from, he said, flatly. Isshin laughed. Not exactly, son. Your mother was a complete beast at dealing with pain. Never in my life have I seen someone who was as tough as she was. Once, shortly after we got married, actually, she got hit by a drunk driver, and the car was more damaged than she was. Ichigo narrowed his eyes. Man, your mother sounds awesome, Kamen said. Ichigo closed his eyes and smiled. Yeah, she was, he said, leaving his blade hand down, and having his right arm ready. Isshin tilted his head. You aren't left-handed, he said. Ichigo nodded. I know, he replied, it's just that my primary weapon isn't this useless blade. And if I'm going to fight you seriously, I need to stop pretending that it is. Isshin chuckled. Of course. How could I ever forget, he said, and if I'm going to fight you seriously, I need to stop believing that I can beat you just with my sealed Zanpakuto. Ichigo dug his heels into the ground. Burn, Enjetsu! Isshin shouted, and a spiraling pyre of flames burst from the hilt of the blade. Instantly after the initial eruption, the fire stabilized, and settled, defaulting into a blazing aura around the katana. Ichigo narrowed his eyes, half due to focus, and half due to the immense brightness. Yo, I think that's nuke mode, Kamen said. Focus, Ichigo. I am focused, Ichigo retorted, tapping his forehead. The white mask, resembling that of a hollow sprouted covering his features, and darkening his sclera. This is going to be fun, Ichigo, Isshin said, what do you think? Ichigo shrugged. That's all. Just a measly shrug. Ichigo thought on it a bit, but in the end, offered another shrug. Isshin sighed. You're hopeless, boy, he said, before charging his son. Steel met flesh, but now blood was spilled, as Ichigo's wall of sheer pressure kept the blade from cutting him. Isshin grinned, before motioning his hand around the guard. Explode, Enjetsu, he said, simply. Zero grados de fuga. Ichigo roared, trying to match the attack. The Zero collided with the exploding Zanpakuto, and promptly exploded, blowing the two combatants apart. Ichigo rolled to a three-point stance, scanning the surrounding area for his dad's spiritual pressure. Nothing. Well, that's going to have me thinking, Ichigo said, irritated. The redhead rose to his feet, looking around, cautiously. He knew that if Isshin was going to attack, it was going to be directed towards areas Ichigo can't feasibly be able to defend. His 6 and 12s were good, and his sides clear. Over the top could be an option. Underneath is a maybe, but an insane one. Maybe. Getsuga Tensho. Isshin screamed, sprinting at Ichigo's right arm. Ichigo quickly flipped his sword into that arm, and blocked the attack. With the smoothest of motions, the former substitute slashed upward, knocking Enjetsu out of his father's hands. Not finished, Ichigo then stabbed his arm forward, and cleaning through the chest of the former captain, who appeared shocked. Maybe you should have taken your own advice, Ichigo said, darkly, grinning. Isshin chuckled. Of course I should have, he said, moments before a Zero exploded. Are you sure you don't want to ask Inoue to help you? Ichigo asked, standing over his struggling father, who was slouching on the couch. She is probably the most selfless person I have ever met. I doubt that she would have a real issue coming here. I'm fine. I'm fine. Since we've been training, Urahara has been hooking me up with the good stuff, Isshin replied. I could make a killing off of these bad boys. Great to know that you've been feeling great, because I haven't. Isshin shrugged. Don't stress it. Just for beating me last night, I'll give you one. Don't get hooked. The doctor reached into his pockets, and brought out a bottle of pills, with a picture of Urahara on it, hiding behind his fan. Ichigo had to resist taking the bottle, and smashing it into millions of pieces. Thanks a lot, world's best dad, Ichigo said, sarcastically, taking the pill, and popping it into his mouth. See you after school. Isshin smiled. Sure thing. For the first time in a week, Yuryu returned to school. Unsurprising, Ichigo preferred if he was still gone. Ichigo knew he would the Quincy a lot more if he was less bitter. Bitter was probably the most contradictory word that he could have chosen, but it was completely accurate. Ishida Yuryu was a bitter body, powered by a bitter mind. It probably wasn't his fault. All his life, he had to hear about his blood, failures of the Quincy, second place this, and no talent that. That's not fair to anyone. Ichigo also knew that his not-so-small crush on Inoue was also a main cause for the bitter juice to flow. At least in his direction. It was obvious. That many lusted after the class beauty, so it was by some slide of luck that she befriended one of the few that didn't. And it wasn't that the Quincy wasn't a bad fellow. He seemed sincere. He was extremely kind to her. He was a good person, at heart. Just incredibly salty. Yuryu seemed to hate the ground he walked on. Ichigo tried to be a friend, but after many failed attempts at such, Ichigo realized that the effort was pointless. The Quincy had already made up his mind. He wasn't going to change. And that was that. Oh well. You can't win them all. Ichigo leaned back in his seat, listening to Oki-sensei's lecture, but not paying it any mind. It's been a long time since we seen any errand cars. Ichigo thought. Worried? Slightly. You think that they're planning something? Maybe. You ready? Because I am roaring for some action. Geez, Cayman, put your leash back on. Don't you want to test yourself after all of this training? Not really. Lame. Cayman groaned, but I can see where you are going with this, though. It's just really lame. Ichigo rolled his eyes. Hey Ichigo. Ishin said, remember that girl you hung out with a few summers ago? Ichigo, sitting on the couch, reading a book, groaned. Sayuki. Only thing I remember about her was that she had brown hair, and an insane fascination with the color purple. Ichigo answered, what's this all about? Just profiling ya, Ishin responded, see what you like. The younger Kurosaki shook his head, closing his book. Dad, don't, he said, irritated, I don't know what you are trying to do, but it isn't going to work. I'm not trying to do anything, but make you happy. Ishin shouted, that's why I'm going to get you a girlfriend tomorrow. Ichigo pinched the bridge of his nose. Really? I want grandchildren, Ichigo. Yuzu and Dash. No. Ishin screeched, eyes nearly bulging out of his head. Ichigo remained stoic. 1. I don't want a girlfriend. 2. If I wanted one, I don't need your help. Lastly, I truly doubt you know my type anyway, so I don't think you can help. Ha! You treat me like an idiot. Ishin shouted, I know your type, Ichigo. Prove it. With an absurdly quick motion, Ishin brought out a notebook, that read, Ichigo's Trends and Desires. Ishin grabbed a pair of glasses that he wore, when he worked on patients, and flipped it open. Ichigo blinked twice. Subject, Kurosaki Ichigo. Has plenty of confidence, however he does have a lot self-loathing and self-doubt issues. Seems to be attracted to girls with curvy builds, like his mother. Seems to also be attracted to girls with personalities similar to his mother. Hey! Ooh, someone seems to have an Oedipus complex. Ichigo cringed harshly. Need me to continue? No, please stop. Ichigo said, I'm actually more impressed, than I am creeped out, still creepy, though. Now, where will we go, tomorrow? Ishin shouted. Ichi and I, is Dad spouting that girlfriend garbage again? Karen asked, walking behind him. Ichigo nodded. What, he was talking to you about it? Too much. I was tired of hearing about it. That's weird, Dad, Ichigo said, shaking his head softly. Ishin shrugged, not really caring. Hey, Ichi and I, Karen said, Yuzu was hoping that she would be able to cut your hair tonight. Ichigo reached up, and grabbed one of his spiky locks. I guess it's a little long. Sure, sure. Oni-chan, this is the first day in a long time that you haven't been sleeping, Yuzu said, gingerly combing her brother's hair, are you feeling better? I'm feeling great today, Ichigo answered, tapping the screen of his phone, I was just really tired for the past couple of weeks, but I'm good now. Something bothering you, Yuzu? And not really. I was just slightly worried, that's all. No need to worry, Yuzu. You weren't giving us a reason not to worry, Ichi and I, Karen said, walking into the room, holding a can of soda, it seems that we were more worried that Gochin. Ichigo smiled. Really? Seriously? Yuzu exclaimed, he didn't seem to care at all. Dad's a old school guy. Don't give it much thought. I'm just glad you're feeling better now, Yuzu said. Me too, Karen joined. Ichigo chuckled slightly. He truly did love his sisters. And he did feel guilty for making them worry. Ichigo closed his eyes, and started brainstorming ideas on how he was going to make this up to them. Hey, how about we do something together? Ichigo said, just us three. Like go ice skating or something. You name it. Really? Yuzu shouted. Wow, that would be great. Karen joined in. Just name something. Anything. Ichigo thought about this for a second. Anything within my budget. Grimjow, why are you so salty? An Arankar, with a devious smirk asked. I would think you would be in a much better mood, being allowed to return the world of the living, and all. Grimjow scoffed. Shut the hell up. I'm not interested in this little mission of yours. So bitter, another Arankar, much larger than both Grimjow and the other male, with long white hair, and vibrant green eyes. Don't get in my way, Luppy, the blue-haired Arankar growled, leaping away from the Garganta. Luppy rolled his eyes. Hey, shouldn't we have him watch over the kid? The large hollow asked, pointing at another Arankar, who was more busy chasing butterflies, than anything else. Luppy shook his head. Nah, he ain't an Espada anymore. It's don't matter, Alice is, he said, and Wonderweiss is fine. Do you feel that, Dad? Ichigo, inside of his spiritual body, asked. Ishin slapped his forehead with a tag, freeing his spiritual body. Yeah. And one is coming our way, he said, just one though. Can you take care of it? Ichigo asked, sternly, I'll go after the ones in the park. Ishin smirked, and rolled his shoulder. Cocky, eh. Sure thing, son. Kurosaki. Grimjow shouted, landing about 15 feet away from the redhead. Ichigo rolled his eyes. Grimjow, if I remember correctly. What a pleasant surprise. The Arankar cracked his knuckles. Who's that? Hi there, Grimjow. I think. Grimjow. Ishin shouted, snapping his fingers, I'm Ichigo's dad, and your opponent today. Grimjow blinked. I'm not here to fight you. I'm here to fight the strawberry top, he screamed. Ishin shrugged, drawing his sword. Well, Ichigo isn't here anymore, so I guess I'm your only option. The Arankar looked around for Ichigo, to see that, indeed, he had disappeared. That motherfucker. Ishin chuckled. I won't have you talking about my wife like that. Are you an Arankar? Ichigo asked, as Wonderweiss clumsily flailed around. The former substitute shook his head, and took a step away from the hollow. Poor thing. I'll end it all soon. Ichigo said, charging a Zero. Where the hell is everyone? Alazes shouted, looking around. Luppy crossed his arms. This is strange. They had to know that where his statement was suddenly interrupted by a large explosion, from another part of the park. Alazes drew his blade. Wonderweiss. What did you do? He shouted, leaping toward the source. Luppy stood, stunned. Wonderweiss. Wonderweiss, the white-haired Arankar called out, where are you? Oh-so Wonderweiss was his name. Ichigo said, leaning on a tree, boops. Alazes landed on the ground, and tightened his grip on his Zanpakuto. I'm going to skewer you, Shinigami, he shouted. Ichigo laughed, crossing his arms. I truly doubt that you can touch me, he said, smirking, and I'm not a Shinigami. The Arankar swung his blade out. Evolve, Capullo, he chanted, as his Zanpakuto devoured his arm. Out of the cocoon, a sharp blade sprouted. Face death, with dignity. Alazes charged, and swung his sword at Ichigo, who caught the blade, effortlessly. Oops, Ichigo said, as the blade shattered, underneath the immense pressure. The hollow froze, completely shocked. Sorry about that. I think you kinda needed that too. Alice's body refused to move. Ichigo narrowed his eyes. No response. Nothing but stupid face. Way to face your death with dignity, bro, the oldest Kurosaki child said, harshly, as he blasted off his arm. Alice's screeched in agony, clutching at his stub. Ichigo rolled his eyes. Way to overreact, dude. It doesn't hurt that much, he said, but I'll end the pain soon enough. A small Zero exploded from his fingertips, popping the head of the Aaron-car, killing him instantly. Ichigo rolled his eyes, and started walking toward the last of the group. Wow, Ichigo is making short work of your team, Isshin said, smirking, aren't you glad you're fighting me, and not my son? Grimjow narrowed his eyes. Shut the F up, he screamed. Isshin put his hands on the back of his head. Look buddy. I know that you're struggling right now. The lack of an arm is hurting you now. I'm taking it slow, so you don't feel underwhelmed. I'm not AF joke. I know. I know. Just be grateful I haven't killed you yet. Ichigo, on the other hand, won't spare you the same mercy I have. Grimjow ground his teeth. I'll kill you, the Aaron-car screamed, charging Isshin, who sighed, blocking the strike. Charging a Zero with his mouth, Grimjow fired off the blast, which the former captain responded with a Kido blast. Both parties slid away from each. See. That lack of arm is holding back your spiritual power. I probably would have had to use a chant to counter that, if you were at full strength. Not good. Not good, young man, Isshin said. Grimjow tightened his fist so hard, his palms bled. I will FNG destroy you before a garganta opened, and a dark-skinned woman, with blonde hair walked out. Grimjow, this is going nowhere. We need to return, she said, calmly. Grimjow cracked his knuckles. I'm not going back, he said. The woman did not move. If you won't go by suggestion, I'll take you by force, she said, in your situation, opposition would not be the best option. Grimjow looked down, before walking over to her. FNG son of a beach, he said, walking through the garganta. Why didn't you kill him, the female Aaron-car asked, curious. Isshin shrugged. No need. I actually feel kinda bad for him, he said. The woman shook her head. We are the enemies. We are your enemies. I still don't understand why you didn't kill him. No. Aizen is the enemy. You are just tools. Alice's can't be dead. Luppy said, looking around, for his partner, where the hell is that BSTRD? Panicking, are we? Ichigo said, arms crossed, your two friends have been eliminated. And I guess that you're next, on the execution board. Luppy drew his sword. How pathetic. Beaten by a single Shinigami, he said. Ichigo chuckled. I'm not a Shinigami, hollow. The redhead rose his arms over his head, and smirked. Strangle. Trepadora. Luppy shouted, as 8 tentacles sprouted from his back. Ichigo had to refrain from laughing. I'm not going to make that joke, he said, grinning from ear to ear. Luppy, on the other hand, screamed, as one of the tentacles shoot forward, aimed at Ichigo's face. Without the hint of difficulty, Ichigo caught the appendage, and with a smooth, quick motion, tore the tentacle off. Luppy pupils shrank. Oh, I'm guessing that you can see the ending. Ichigo said, grim, isn't it? Luppy screamed, as his remaining tentacles started charging Zeros. The former substitute chuckled. That's cute, he said, taking a step back, let's see what you can do, friend. Luppy's eyes twitched. I'll kill you, he screamed, firing the Zeros. Ichigo, even without using his mask, matched the strength, protecting him from the attack. Luppy froze, rigid. I guess today just isn't your day. Ichigo said, walking over to him. Ulquiorra opened the garganta, and walked into the world of the living. The Arrancar felt as if something was wrong. Now of the 4 deployed still remain. Aizen-sama did tell me that Haribel did retrieve Grimmjow, he said, but nothing about the rest. This is troubling. He took a step, and heard a loud crunch. Looking down, he said the remains of Luppy's mask. Very troubling. That wasn't a great test, Cayman. Ichigo said, sitting at his desk, with his reading glasses on. Disappointing. Disappointing, and boring. Are we ever going to face another challenge? Cayman asked. Ichigo rubbed his forehead. I hope not. But probably, he said, closing his eyes. Something felt off. Ichigo didn't know what it was, but there was something wrong. Ichigo really did not like this feeling. But he knew that there was nothing he could do about it tonight. But maybe in the morning. Chapter 32, No Excuses, Unplugged. Oriheim could easily recall the moment she fell for her orange-haired friend. It was such a short while ago, but it felt like an eternity ago. Such a strange reveal it was too. There was nothing romantic about the two doing homework together, but the simple action was one of the many that Ichigo had done, without being asked, and Oriheim got lost in her thoughts, remembering all that Ichigo had done for her, and it came to her. She was in love. And she didn't know what to do. The moment she realized what she felt a pit open. In her stomach. Normal, everyday activities that they used to do without a hitch, now were a challenge for her to fight back her nerves. It was irritating. Oriheim wanted the relationship to return to normal, but it couldn't. She felt as if she was taking advantage of the kindness that Ichigo was showing her. It was disgusting of her to do so. It would be worse if she expected him to return her feelings. It was a hard feeling to swallow. But that was the price to pay, for selfishness. 2 weeks prior. Inoue, I feel truly awful about using your apartment all the time, that it's pretty hectic at home, Ichigo said, grabbing his school bag. His eyes were droopy, and he looked dead-beat tired. Oriheim, looking at him with soft, sympathetic eyes, smiled sincerely. I don't mind, she said, in fact, I like it when you come over. Her face exploded in a fiery pink flush when she realized what she said. I didn't mean it that way. I meant dash. I know what you mean, Ichigo said, chuckling softly. Anyway, I greatly appreciate everything that you have done for me. It has been a godsend. I'll try and be a guest more often. I feel that our friendship is repairing itself, so I better put my due in. I'll be over as much as I can, if that's okay with you. Anytime, Kurosaki-kun, Oriheim said, with a smile. Ichigo nodded, rolling his neck. Well, I guess I'm off. Tell Rukia and the blonde, whatever her name is. Ranjaku-san. Ranjaku. Whatever. Tell them that I said hi, and tell them to stop leaving you alone here. I'm going to start calling again if they're going to keep pulling this garbage. Does Tatsuki still call? Every night. Why do you two call? Oriheim asked, naively. Ichigo blinked. While you live in a better neighborhood than before, it's still not ideal. We want to make sure you're fine, he replied, call it paranoia. I understand. And I'll them what you said. Good girl. Again, I truly appreciate all that you have done for me. You're welcome anytime, she said, as Ichigo walked away, bag over his shoulder, and other hand in his pocket. Oh, Kurosaki-kun. Could you tell your sisters that I said hi? Sure thing, Inoue. That's it. Ranjaku said, holding a bottle of hard tea. That's weak. Oriheim, with stubborn males like that brat, you gotta get aggressive. Ranjaku-san, as much as I respect you, that is some terrible advice, Rukia said, we shouldn't be promoting two 15-year-old to do the deed. It's rather inappropriate. Ranjaku snickered. Oh, hush sweetie. It's not you're much older than them. Rukia narrowed her eyes, blowing her tea to cool it. Orihime blinked, confused. What do you mean, Ranjika-san, she said. Rukia shook her head, muttering, it's not worth it, Inoue-san. I want god babies, Orihime. Ranjika-san. Wow, Ichigo, Rukia said, looking at her former partner, sleeping on the rooftop, against the wall, bento box resting on his lap. Are you trying to make sleeping your full-time job? Shut that up, Kuchiki. Ichigo groaned, I'm sleeping because I am tired, let me be. Sato took the bento box, and opened it. You're just going to take his food? Kigo asked. Sato shrugged, as he started to eat. It's totally cool with me. Ichigo said, I'm not hungry. Are you okay, Kurosaki-kun? Orihime asked. The orange-haired teen waved. He's fine, Sato said, translating what the wave meant, just very tired. How pathetic. Rukia said, studying, as Ichigo slept on the couch, I thought that you were here to study, Kurosaki, not continue your sloth impressions. Orihime looked at him, in concern. I wonder why he's so tired. Orihime said. Rukia's look softened, as if she was wondering the same thing. The petite girl shrugged, nevertheless, and went back to studying, believing that whatever Ichigo was going through, he could get through it. He probably wasn't going to tell them about it, anyway. Inoue, if you don't mind. Yoruchi, standing at her door, I need you to come with me, right now. Orihime, tentatively put her hand over her chest, as Rukia joined her. Wherever she goes, I go, Rukia said, with a strong glare, what is this about, anyway? Yoruchi looked sorrowfully at the two. I'm sorry for what I'm about to tell you. Inoue-san, Kuchiki-san, so nice of you. Urahara cheerfully announced, before Rukia interrupted him, injecting his sentence with, why are we here? Orihime nervously walked behind the shorter female. Urahara sighed, and hid his eyes. Inoue-san, do you understand the nature of your powers? He asked, seriously. Orihime shook her head. Why is this important? Rukia asked. Yoruchi stepped in, eyes narrowed. Inoue, we believe that your powers are a bit more complex than we originally thought, she said, seriously, we think, and this is only in guess, but you might be a pure soul. A pure soul? Orihime said, confused. A being, made up of an incorruptible soul, Urahara clarified, that would explain your borderline godlike abilities. That would also explain why you, actually, I shouldn't tell you that. Rukia walked up to the enigmatic shopkeeper. Tell her, she growled, she has a right to know. Urahara sighed, and shouted his eyes. While you were resting her. I ran a test. What test? Does Ichigo know? He was there. This is an awful idea. Ichigo said, holding a golden medallion, aren't there other ways to test your theory? Urahara shook his head. Urasama informed me that we need to do this. The lords are getting restless, he said, there's nothing we can really do. We can say no. I'll rather face the captain commander in battle than to face the lords of famine in court, Kisuke said, besides, this is safe, I guess. Safe, you guess, Ichigo snarled, if anything happens to her, I'm cutting off your head. I'll accept those terms, Urahara said, motioning the former substitute to pick Orihime up. Ichigo sighed, muttering that this was stupid, picking the sleeping girl up, into a cradle. A black portal opened, and a tall man, wearing a black mask, and an ornate black priest robe stepped out. You have 5 minutes, he said, in an extremely deep tone, I'm afraid that's all I could afford to buy you. Don't waste it. Both Ichigo and Urahara nodded, and followed him into the portal. Blackness. Complete and utterly suffocating blackness. It felt like the time he awakened his true Zanpakuto against Kenpachi, but this time, instead of trying to devour him, the darkness seemed to try and repel him. It still felt horrible. This is the abyss. Ichigo asked. Unfortunately, yes, the man replied, nothing but darkness. Not even time can exist here. Ichigo looked up, and saw a hole open up. What's that? Another unfortunate soul, locked here forever. Place the girl down, here. Ichigo placed Orihime down on the ground gently, and slowly backed away from her, right arm crackling with energy. A few seconds passed, before a black soul floated over to her body. Another few seconds passed, and the black soul went on the offensive, trying to devour Orihime's soul. When the soul collided with her body, the black soul dissipated, and Orihime was completely unharmed. This is the real deal, the masked man said, putting a white rock back into his pocket. I never would have thought that the next Soul King would be an average spirit. What the hell? So, this is what that girl was talking about, huh? Ichigo said, shopkeeper, what does this mean? Urahara shut his eyes, and shook his head. It means that nothing good is coming her way. You took her to the abyss. Rukia said, breathlessly. Urahara stood, unfazed. I did what I had to do, to make sure nothing happened. That it wasn't ideal, but it was the best way. The best way? What the hell is wrong with you? If you were wrong, Orihime could have died. You idiot. Izanami-san was there. Nothing would have happened. Urahara said, besides, they would have never made me do it if there was doubt. Why the hell did Ichigo agree to it? He didn't, Yoruchi said, but he refused to allow Inoue to go alone. Orihime looked down. What does this mean? She asked. It means, if you were to die, powers fully realized, that you would become the next Soul King. Or, in this case, Soul Queen, but the title is less a description, but more of a title. Urahara said. Don't talk like that, Rukia growled, seriously set off. Orihime wavered slightly. Precautions needed to be made, Yoruchi said, sternly, and, regardless, this keeps the lords from taking her. It's not ideal, but this was the only way that we could assure that. So now what? Izanami told us that the Lords of Famine has ruled Inoue legally immune, Yoruchi said, this keeps the Central 46 away from her. They also promoted her to contingency immune status, meaning that if a war were to break out, you would not be able either choose sides, nor participate. She also, if she were to ever take advantage of her status, be able to access the King's Pavilion. The rest of the Soul King, Urahara said, I advise that you don't do this, but there might be a time where you have to. I'm still confused. Orihime said, extremely softly, lacking any form of confidence. Urahara nodded. I expect you to be, he said, this is not an easy thing to take. Why did you tell her this? Rukia asked, edge still apparent in her voice. Because this is important. And so that she would be careful. My, Kerberos and Nyx, Hayato said, sitting on a white rock, we might need to pay our dear nephew a visit. The blinded Quincy stood, and summoned his hell butterfly, which fluttered aimlessly. Master, what about the girl? Kerberos asked. Hayato shook his head. Not yet. But, when she unlocks it, we'll be there. Good morning, Kurosaki-kun, Orihime said, cheerfully, as she walked by Ichigo's desk. The former substitute, using his hand as a rest to keep his head from smashing into the desk, smiled, and offered his own greeting. His smile, however, completely faded, when a furious Rukia grabbed him by his collar, and dragged him out of the classroom, wordlessly. Wow, Tatsuki said, with a chuckle, I wonder what he did. I would like it, if you would stop, Rukia. You're stretching out my collar, Ichigo said, dead of tone. Rukia shut her eyes, trying to contain her rage. Arrogant BSTRD, she snarled, clearly failing at the task, what the hell is wrong with you? A lot. I thought that you would know this by now, Ichigo replied, what is this about? Why did you agree to take Inoue-san to the abyss? As if on cue, the hallways fell, or at least felt quiet. Ichigo rolled his eyes. If the shopkeeper shared all of the facts, he would have told you that I did not agree with the decision. But there was nothing we could have done. Rukia let go of the redhead's collar, and turned away from him. You could have fought against it. Fighting cures nothing. The Lords of War requested it. If we don't comply, they force us to. The laws of nature. Bullshit, Ichigo. I know that you would have found a way, Rukia said. If you have so much faith in me now, then why won't you accept that I had no choice? Urahara had no choice. They wanted it. Besides, after all of the benefits awarded to Inoue because of this, well, that I only went through this, because I wasn't going to allow them to take her by herself. At least you were there. Rukia muttered. Current day. It was a struggle. No matter what Orihime did, she could not advance her powers. She tried talking to her fairies, to see if they had any advice for her, but they didn't. They told her that they could not help her past what they already told her. It was nice that they tried, but in the end, it was ultimately useless. For one, Orihime did not know what the Soul King was capable of. If his, or whatever it was, powers were similar to hers, wouldn't it be a great idea to know what the Soul King's powers did? But when she asked, Urahara seemed hesitant to tell her, as if he didn't want her to know. It was confusing. It didn't make any sense. Why would he tell her about her being, without explaining anything? There had to be a reason to it. Standing in front of the candy shop, which Urahara proudly called a home, Orihime ran several ways of approaching the owner, to directly confronting him about it, to slipping it into a conversation. No matter what way she picked, she was bound to fail. She sighed, walking into the store, where Yoruchi was sitting, against the wall that hid the hole to the underground training facility. Orihime slowly walked forward, and sat beside her. Inoue, nice to see you, the dark-skinned woman said, solemnly, I figured you wouldn't be back so soon. So, how are you taking things? Fine. That's good. Was there something that you wanted to talk about? Yoruchi-san was as good as a source for her question. Maybe this would work after all. Yoruchi-san, Orihime said, softly, I have a question about my powers. Yoruchi attentively turned to face her. Good ahead, she answered. Well, I was wondering how do I advance my powers? I've been working all week on doing so, but nothing seems to happen. Oh, well. Yoruchi said, sheepishly, I actually don't have an answer for you. Oh, that's okay. Maybe Urahara-san can help me. Orihime said. Kisuke's isn't here, right now, Yoruchi replied, but that doesn't mean that I can't help. Let's go downstairs. And you're sure that he's not a wizard? Shinji said, standing outside the barrier to his hideout. Urahara nodded. So now what? We're just going to do nothing against Aizen. That's the plan, the shopkeeper answered, hopefully, Aizen never attacks. You know he is. He's gonna want your Hogyoku, right? Urahara sighed. Even with the half he owns, he knows my half will be of little use. We both made incomplete mocks of the original, both not even grazing the scope, nor vision of the original. And where is the original? How am I supposed to know? Only thing I know is that Aizen is searching for it. And he may not be alone. Shinji rose an eyebrow. Who? He asked, which Urahara responded with another sigh. You know who. You brought back Tsubaki without a single piece of him remaining? Yoruchi asked, arms crossed. Orihime nodded. Remarkable that's truly amazing, Inoue. Thank you, Yoruchi-san, Orihime said, smiling. Yoruchi, also smiling, nodded, and uncrossed her arms. Unfortunately, getting stronger for you is a much different practice than Ichigo. He was traditional. Just simple training. You are different. What does that mean? Well, it means that I'm completely useless to you, Inoue. I doubt I could teach you how to use Kido. Your powers are bizarre. Way more bizarre than I ever could have imagined. Then how do I get stronger? Yoruchi rose an eyebrow. In no way, your powers are based on your willpower, and knowledge. As your knowledge of your abilities grow, your powers will become more advanced. Your basic abilities are already ridiculous, but with a little growth, who knows what you're capable of. The true strength of your powers is your willpower. Whatever you desire is possible, do what you hold. But you have to want it. You have to be willing to fight for it. Orihime felt her throat dry up. It's okay to have doubts, but it is not okay to succumb to them. That is your biggest issue on the battlefield. That is why Tsubaki was destroyed so easily. You have to feel confident in yourself. Once you do that, you will have unlocked your potential. I know you can do it. We've all had roadblocks that threaten to attack our confidence. I had my father's and brother's legacy to follow. Your roadblocks are a hell of a lot sturdier than mine were, but I know you can do it. Yoruchi smiled, walking her to an open clearing. And we're going to break down these walls together. Got it? Got it. Sato sat against a rock, sweat-matted hair covering his eyes. He was tired. He knew that training down here was going to take everything out of him, but it was worth it. He had to prove to Ichigo his worth. He had to prove that he could fight beside his best friend again. With a revolving tag team of Renji and Ikaku, he never had a shortage of opponents. He would fight as long as he could, before passing out. He knew that this was the best way. It was surprising to see Inoue here, training, but he paid it little mind. They both had a similar purpose. Those who submit to the abyss are doomed forever. Some accept their fate, while some fight. Those who fight, lose themselves in the end. However, if you are lucky, and you have accepted your fate, can continue their being. The few who can are dubbed the walkers. They live inside the black void, but they continue to exist. They somehow maintain their sanity. Some, like Izanami, manage to protect those who fail, and keep outsiders from falling. Others may try to continue their way. A man, with a slate-gray mask, and long brown hair, fashioned into a spiky ponytail, sat, wearing a clothing similar to a Shinigami Shihakusho, but torn and frayed. A beaten and blackened captain's haori was worn as a scarf, with a zanpakuto that resembles an Iaido blade clinging to his waist. He looked down, to see the agonizing of Shiba Kaien, a former friend of his. It was a shame on what had happened to him. I'll prevent what you died for, old friend, he said, I won't let this happen to anyone else. A ray of light opened, and another lost soul was dragged in, mere seconds before it was devoured by the darkness. The masked man looked up. Tmed abyss started spreading, day by day, he said, clenching his fists, at this rate, it won't be long before it destroys everything. We're done for today. Orihime said, tired. Yoruchi smiled and helped her steady herself. Yes, we are done today, she said, Rome wasn't built in one day, Inoue. You have plenty of time to discover. But dash. Don't stress it. We made major progress today. You're doing a fantastic job of everything that I ask of you. Now, I just need you to rest. Thank you very much. Orihime said, with a wide smile, bowing, I greatly appreciate it. Not a problem, Inoue. I'll see you again tomorrow, Yoruchi-san, Orihime exclaimed, before walking into Urahara. You're rather late, Kisuke, Yoruchi said. Business ran late, Urahara stated, surprisingly firmly. Orihime took a step back, to allow the former captain passage. Inoue-san, may I ask what you were doing down here? Yoruchi narrowed her eyes. She was training with me, she said, why are you asking? Urahara shielded his eyes, with the brim of his striped hat. Why was she training? To fight the Arrancar? Yes. I want to help. Orihime said, timidly. I understand that you might want to help, but, you can't. It would be best for you stay behind, and heal as needed. But, I can dash. Your powers are best suited for support, not offensively. Don't worry about the front line. Kisuke. Yoruchi growled. You saw what happened to Tsubaki. He was crushed. Without a thought, Urahara continued on, please understand what I'm telling you. I understand. Orihime said, a hush above a whisper. With slow pace, she walked toward the exit. Thanks, idiot, Yoruchi said, walking after her, 3 hours of hard work, completely destroyed. Thanks a lot. I did what I had to, Urahara replied, this was for the best. I'm not hearing it, Kisuke. I should never gotten my hopes up. Orihime said, tears on the verge of breaking loose. She didn't want to break down, but being told exactly what you wanted to prevent was not easy. The cold bluntness that it was delivered to her made it harder to bear. She wanted to help. She truly did. That's all she wanted to do. She knew, that with a little bit of help, that she could do so too. And she was shut out. And it hurt. Inoue. Yoruchi shouted, from behind her, wait. I'm sorry, Yoruchi-san, Orihime said, with the falsest smile that she could muster at the time, I'm fine. Don't believe what he told you, Inoue. You can do whatever you set your mind to. If you want to fight alongside us, I know that you would be ready. I understand, Yoruchi-san, Orihime said, in a blind rush, just trying to leave the shop, thank you for all that you have done. Yoruchi narrowed her eyes. Inoue. I have to get going now. The creak of sliding doors filled the room, as the teen left the shop, in a hurry. Yoruchi closed her golden eyes. You call her? Rukia asked, stamping her right foot repeatedly. Ranjaku sighed. Of course, I did. She's not picking up, she replied. Rukia looked out the window, wondering where Orihime was. This is strange. She's never out this late, she said, trailing off, as she said Orihime finally appear, slowly creeping up the stairway. Rukia opened the door and waited for her arrival. Inoue-san, you had me worried. Rukia exclaimed, before seeing Orihime puffy eyes, bloodshot from the tears that were streaming down her face. I am so sorry, Keikuch she stammered, trying to form a coherent sentence. Rukia grabbed her by her wrist and pulled her inside. Orihime, what happened? Ranjaku called out, walking toward her. Orihime hiccuped. All I wanted to do was help, she said, collapsing on the couch. Wow, what a d-. Ranjaku said, I can't believe he told you that. Orihime sat on the couch, motionlessly. Rukia, on the other hand, was not. I swear to God, I'm going to kill that man, she forced through her shut teeth, thinking of how she was going to do it. She was completely livid. Who the hell does he think he is? Well, he was an exiled captain, Ranjaku replied to Rukia's rhetorical question, maybe he still believes that he's a big deal or something. Rukia snapped her head around. Are you making excuses for that man? She said, tone dangerously empty. Ranjaku, hurriedly, shook her head. That's what I thought. Now, as for you, Inoue-san, since Urahara wants to be a ginormous douchebag, we're going to the Siriidii to train, okay? Keikuki-san, you don't have to waste your time. Orihime shouted before she was cut short, by a wordless holler, from the petite Shinigami. Don't you say those words, Inoue-san. We'll show that JRK what you are capable of, Rukia exclaimed, proudly. Thank you. Orihime said. You want to go to the Siriidii? For what? Renji asked, arms crossed, this is a rather short notice visit. I'm helping Inoue-san. Don't you dare tell Urahara, Rukia answered. Renji stared at her, taking in her focused expression. Well, I can see you're passionate about this, so I'm dash. It's personal, Rukia said, shutting up the redhead. Do you feel that, Saito-sama? Takehiko said, grinning, "The winds of change are coming. And they are breezing in your direction, sir." Saito Yu, the leader of the royal guard, smiled, knowingly. "How predictable," he said, "if they weren't blowing in my direction, I would change my flag so they were. I own all directions that the wind could possibly blow." "Of course, you do, sir, but it seems that the princess wants to further her growth." "So soon?" "Wow, this is a surprise. I figured that we still had a decade or two with the old regime." "Oh well. Shall we start?" Takehiko asked. Yu shook his head. "We've already took our turn. Let's see if Aizen moves himself into a check." The day was long, and while Oriheim still had not realized her potential, nor what she was truly capable of yet, this was a nice rebound from the soul-crushing disappointment that befell her the day before. She knew that she could trust Rukia with anything. From the moment she entered her humble apartment, Rukia had tried to be there. She was a great help around the place, and whenever Oriheim needed something, Rukia was there. She was as great as a friend as she was a person, and Oriheim wished that she could be graced with just a bit of the same courage and confidence that she held. Maybe then, she wouldn't be a burden. "What?" Rukia shouted, into her phone. "How did he do that?" Oriheim, wordlessly, watched from the side, interested in whatever got Rukia so worked up. "No, this isn't a great time that I mean, I'll be back, but who's that I'll see about it." Rukia snapped the phone, shouted, and sighed heavily. She paced toward Oriheim, days of frustration and irritation showing within her face. "I'm sorry, Inoue-san," she said, "I have to get back to Karakura right away." Oriheim smiled, gathering her things. "That's fine, Kuchiki-san," she said, "Yeah, we can go back now." "That's the problem. Unfortunately, the way I'm going, you can't go with me." Official Shinigami Expressway, in layman's terms. "Oh, then how can I get back to Karakura town?" Oriheim asked. On cue, Captain Yukitake, and 2 other Shinigami appeared, beside her. "No need to worry about it, Kuchiki. I got it covered," Jushiro said, "just get back to Karakura, quickly." Rukia nodded. "Thank you, sir," she said, "Inoue-san, I'll wait for you there." In the beginning, there was only light. Souls had no balance. They had nothing but everlasting light. However, with no darkness, the souls could never take a human form. With no darkness, the souls were woefully incomplete. But there was one, who knew of the balancing force, and gave the gift of dark to the world. This man, despite creating the first life, was not a hero. The man could not control the darkness, and the world was plunged in an eternal night. The moon was blotted out of the sky, and the warm presence of the sun faded. The man became disillusioned with his power, and felt the never-ending darkness was for the best, so he devised a tool, to spread his powers. This tool was named Irminsul. And it was powerful. Irminsul was a tiny white cross that was branded on a body, giving them powers beyond creation. Beyond destruction. It was truly incredible. But there was one problem. Despite this great power, many that were branded by Irminsul were not fortunate enough to survive, and thus, they faded away, soul, body, and all. And now, the man had a problem. How could he spread the black that was his paradise? How could he continue giving the gift that is the dark? Who could continue to spread the darkness, if he were to vanish? Would the dark fade, if he were not around to sustain it? His answer came, via a small child, named Abaddon. Abaddon was a gifted child. He was very smart, and he was very strong as well. Not only that, he knew how to take care of himself, after his parents died. He was very resilient, and even in the worst of situations, Abaddon would never panic. And Irminsul accepted him. The man who gave the gift of darkness to the world smiled, in victory. "Child Abaddon, I shall grant you a power that the world has never seen before. A power that could continue to spread the gift of my darkness. The power to control your own fate," the man said, voice powerful, I shall also give you the gift of my darkness, for if I expire, you could carry in my dream, and continue the spread of my darkness. Son, will you accept my power? Abaddon, scraggy black hair slightly covering his eyes, fell to his knees, and starting praying at the great man's feet. Father, I shall accept your gift. It is an honor to be chosen by the greatest, the most powerful, and utmost of lords. I shall carry your gift of the dark, and I shall spread it at my command. The man's smile grew, as he produced a grail of his own blood, and gave it to little Abaddon. With this, you shall, the man said, you will be my disciple. You will carry on the age of darkness. And you shall create the legacy of the dark, telling my tales of conquest through the annals of history. With one mighty swallow, Abaddon became the successor of the dark. And with this great new power, after the man who gifted him was imprisoned for his gift, Abaddon decided that the world could not understand his darkness. His motives. His perfection. His desire. He decided that he had to do something radical. Something that the horsemen could not respond to. A way, to ensure that darkness would, forever, be permanent and awe-inspiring. Some way to let the generations of the future understand that darkness is the way for world. The only way of the world. A perfectly dark world, where light could not exist. So Abaddon, the father of the abyss, began to work. How did you do this, Kurosaki? Toshiro asked, looking at the damage the former substitute Shinigami caused. Ichigo, grinning slightly, shrugged. It's a mystery, he said. Regardless, if I told you, you'll probably have me made out to be some kind of threat or something. The young captain narrowed his eyes. What's that supposed to mean? He asked. Ichigo shrugged, accordingly. Whatever you can think of, little man, he said, I know how the Soul Society works, and it's not the most efficient way of conducting business. Where is this coming from? Well-placed paranoia, plus constant spouts of stupidity coming from your side. Oh, and the constant lies you people tell. I'm aware of the real reason why you were sent here. Toshiro, who seemed calm before, furrowed his brow, in poorly concealed rage. If you are so aware, then why do you continue to fight alongside us? He asked. Ichigo began to chuckle, before breaking out in laughter, clutching his stomach. You really think I did this crap for you? He shouted, I'm not a Shinigami. I'm not on your side. I will never fight alongside you. I kill these Arancars, because I can. Do you have a problem with that, Captain? Toshiro turned away the redhead, fuming. You haven't given us a reason on why we should trust you. You haven't given me a reason on why I should give a shit. Ichigo. Rukia shouted, providing a much-needed interruption. What happened? Ichigo put his arms out, smirking greatly. A decisive victory, Rukia, he said, easily, I should ask. Rukia looked at Toshiro, who appeared to be absolutely livid. She felt it was best to not bother the fellow ice elemental. Well, could you at least process a report? Rukia asked. Ichigo shook his head. No, I will not do that, he replied, bluntly, that is not my job to do. Let someone else worry about that. You're the only one who can help. You were the only one here. Ichigo chuckled, before turning to walk away. In the immense darkness that is the abyss, the masked man, with the long, spiky ponytail looks down, and clenches his fists. I wish I could change this, he said, but I trust in Kurosaki, and you should too. It is better this way, Ulquiorra said, stepping out of the Garganta, and into the Dangai. I wouldn't want too much of a challenge. The two Shinigami, assigned to escort Orihime, moved in front of her, swords drawn. We want no trouble. If Ulquiorra could narrow his eyes further, he would have. Instead, he settled for firing a quick bala, that blasted the man's chest open. Stop! Orihime cried, summoning her shield, what do you want? Ulquiorra put his hand back in his pocket. What I want, does not matter, the Arankar replied, it is what Aizen-sama desires that matters. And what he wants is you, woman. Orihime, surprisingly calm, stared a hole through him. Why? She simply asked. I don't know, and I don't care, Okuiora answered, nevertheless, you are coming with me. And you will hold no objections against that. Run back, the still conscious escort shouted, before a bala tore into him, viciously. Without a moment's hesitation, Orihime's golden healing shield expanded to cover him. Okuiora concealed his amusement of the futility of the effort. Now that you are alone, you will have choice but to give in to my demands, he stated, you will not speak. You have no rights, as this is not a negotiation. And, if you refuse, I will simply kill your friends, one by one. Do you understand me? Orihime did not respond. I will take your silence as a confirmation. You will wear this, Okuiora tossed her a small bracelet, this is hide your appearance to those who do not side with Aizen-sama. This will also allow you to pass through walls. You have until midnight to do whatever you need to do. And you can only say goodbye to one person. Betray these conditions, and I cannot guarantee the safety of your friends. Orihime's late again, Ranjaku said, lounging back, on the couch. This time, Rukia did not respond to the comment, but only continued to mull in a melancholic trance. Karen, where do you want to go? I think we should go to the winter festival next week, Yuzu said, looking through the newspaper for future events. Karen shrugged, and sat beside. That might be a bit expense, Yuzu, she replied, Ichi and I might have a job, but he's not made of money. Booths at these things jack the price way up. Maybe we could ask Daddy for some money. Karen thought about it, before realizing something. Where had their father gone? After leaving with Ichi and I, they did not return together. He probably made a mess of himself. Karen thought, before poking into the newspaper. Isshin sat on a bench, outside of the Karakura hospital, when a man, with white hair walked out, and joined him. The white-haired man reached into his pockets, and bought out a pack of cigarettes, and a lighter. I thought a doctor would know that it's not healthy to smoke, Isshin said, mockingly. Ryukin ignored the comment. So, how's everything? Fine. I have a son that doesn't understand anything, and refuses to do so. Irritating, Ryukin said, after taking a long drag from his smoke, while my son seems to be better equipped for this, your son seems to understand the gravity of the situation. Ichigo has always been a dire child, Isshin said, regardless, he seems to understand that the world isn't as straightforward as it seems. I feel that he'll make the right choices. And what are those choices? Isshin looked down and shook his head softly. I don't know. And that's the worst part. For the first time in her entire life, Inoue Orihime was in a man's room. And it felt different than she could have imagined. Despite being typically known as the Messier gender, Kurosaki Ichigo's room was incredibly neat. There was a slight hint of disorder, seeing that his two guitars seemed to take up more space than expected, and his TV was swallowing up his desk space, but it was very neat. And clean. And it smelled good. Orihime looked on at Ichigo, who did not make it to his bed, but instead, slept in his chair. It looked rather uncomfortable. Kurosaki-kun, you'll get back problems, like this, she said, with a small, sincere, and sad smile. She rolled the chair to the bed, and with the softest of whispers, summoned her shield, which gathered underneath Ichigo, and aided her in her carry. She softly placed the former substitute on the bed, and brought the comforter over him, tucking him in. Kurosaki-kun tucked me in before that. I guess I'm just trying to return the favor, she said, desperately trying to improve her mood. It did not work. I can't believe someone as kind as you has to fight so much. Orihime said. She really couldn't believe it. Ichigo had done so much since he met Rukia. He fought bravely, with no experience, against monsters that betrayed logic. He invaded the Siriidii, all to save Rukia from execution. And now, he was feeling the effects of his battles. He looked tired. Even though Orihime was not a makeup artist, she could tell from close-up that Ichigo was using some form of a mask to cover the bags that had developed from underneath his eyes. He looked ragged. And now, all she was doing was causing him more stress. "I'm sorry, Kurosaki-kun," she said, solemnly, "I'm really just a burden after all." She felt her head subconsciously cover his, and felt the blood rushing to her face. "I just hope, when you realize that I'm gone, that you won't hate me," she said, inching her face toward his face. Closer. And closer. And closer. Before she stopped, mere inches away from contact. I can't do that to you," she said, tears falling freely, "I'm so pathetic." She wiped her tears and stood up, trying to recompose herself. "This might be the last time I get to see you, and I try something that's selfish." Orihime fell back against the window. "I wanted to do so much, you and Tatsuki-chan were always telling me to make up my mind, but there are so many great things to do in this world. I wanted to become a school teacher. And an astronaut, and open a cake shop that I wanted to go into Mr. Donut and say, 'Give me everything,' and go to Baskin-Robbins, and say, 'Give me everything.' If only I had 5 lives, then I could be born in 5 different towns, have 5 different birthdays, have 5 different jobs, and I could fall in love with the same person 5 times. Orihime felt her stomach drop, when she looked at the clock, and saw that it read. She looked away from it. "I wanted to say goodbye to so many people. Tatsuki-chan. Sato-kun. Ishida-kun. Kuchiki-san, and I chose you, Kurosaki-kun. That I hope they understand. That I hope you understand. Thank you, Kurosaki-kun, for everything that you have done for me. Maybe we could have another conversation, under better circumstances. Goodbye." Chapter 33, Something in the Way, Unplugged. Ichigo did not remember making it to his bed last night. He would say that he might be sleepwalking, but since he was tucked in, he casts those thoughts away. "Did my dad do this? What a weirdo," Ichigo said, as he placed his palm against his forehead. "This feels like..." His phone buzzed sharply, shaking on the nearby desk. Ichigo sighed, and climbed out of bed, slightly upset that he had to get up. He walked over to the desk, and grabbed the phone, to see that Rukia had sent him a message. "Ichigo, you need to come to Inoue's place immediately," was all it said. Ichigo decided to ignore it. "Probably some Shinigami bullshit," he said, before another message came in, again from Rukia. "It's an emergency." From the minute he woke up, he knew that there was something wrong. From him being in his bed, to the message, to the weird, lingering feeling that someone else was in his room the previous night. And now, he couldn't sense Inoue's presence. Walking toward to the apartment, Ichigo had a sinking suspicion that whatever this emergency was about, Inoue was involved. "Where are you?" he whispered to himself. "Ichigo." Rukia, with an incredibly tired expression, said, tonelessly. "What's going on?" Ichigo asked, voice deep. "She hasn't been back. That I'm sorry," Rukia said, emotion now matching her face. Ichigo narrowed his eyes. "What happened?" "I can be the one to answer that one for you, Kurosaki-san," Yukitake said, as the makeshift television screen in the middle of the tiny apartment turned on. Ichigo turned toward it. "I was the one to see her off into the Senkamen," he said, "and, according to the escorts she left with, the last one to see Inoue Orihime alive, after they were ambushed by an errand car." "Captain Yukitake!" Rukia shouted. Ichigo stood completely still, completely silent. "I'm sorry, but that's all the information that I have." "Show me the body," Ichigo said, gravely. Yukitake blinked. "Excuse me?" "Show me the body. If you are so FNG confident that she died, then show me the goddamn evidence." "All I have dash. I don't give a shit on what you have. I have evidence that Inoue was here last night, so you might want to start being a little clearer." "With me." "I see." Yamamoto Genryusai Shigekuni said, walking into the view. Ichigo's eyes narrowed. "Well, this is unfortunate. You might want to choose your next words very carefully, old man, Ichigo growled, incredibly deeply. Are you confident that Inoue Orihime had made it back to Karakura town? Are you accusing me of lying? Of course she made it back. I felt her here. I felt her spiritual pressure here. Then it seems that Inoue Orihime left of her own will. Captain Commander. Rukia shouted, you can't say that. Orihime would never dash. All the evidence is clear. If Inoue Orihime was allowed to return to Karakura, then it is clear that she left on her own desire. It is clear that Inoue has betrayed the Soul Society. That struck a chord. Ichigo, impassively, crossed his arms, and waited to see what other missteps the Captain Commander would make. I understand, Renji said, then it our responsibility to make the traitor Inoue Orihime see the light. We can leave for Hueco Mundo whenever you say. The audible click of a clock was heard, indicating the passing of another minute. I forbid it. Yamamoto shouted, if the Arrancar are preparing for a war, then it would be best if Captain Hitsugaya's team would come back, and protect the Siriidii. Rukia, shaking, eyes fuming with rage, hollowly announced, I'm sorry, but I cannot obey that order. I will not abandon Inoue. One person is not worth the fate of the world. Regardless, I came prepared for your answer. A Senkaman opened from behind them, and Byakuya and Kenpachi walked into the apartment. Come on. Kenpachi said, surprisingly more solemn than he would have imagined, we need to go. We allow to take you by force, if need be, Byakuya said. Renji shut his eyes. Then, I guess I going alone, then, Ichigo said, darkly, she is my friend, so it's my responsibility to bring her back. I forbid it. Your strength is needed for the upcoming fight. We cannot have you dying like a dog, for a selfish cause. Ichigo blinked. Rukia looked at the former substitute, emotion brimming in her eyes. Then the deep rumbling of laughter emerged from the red head. Both Renji and Rukia were taken aback by this. I'm surprised that I have to keep explaining this, old man, Ichigo said, I am not your ally. I will not fight alongside you. I am not one of you. Do you not care about the fate of Karakura, Kurosaki? Yamamoto asked. Don't you trying to guilt-trip me, old man. I don't even know what you are fighting for. Why join a cause that doesn't even trust me? Ichigo. Rukia said. I'm a threat to you, that I'm a threat to your power, that I'm a threat to your great and powerful military force, and, again, and most importantly, I'm a threat to you. So don't you think that you can order me around? Is this a threat? It's a FNG promise. Try it. FNG. Dare. You. Ichigo, you need to stop, Renji said. I don't need to stop anything. I'm not wrong. You were sent here to spy on me. I know. I understand. Still does not matter. I'm my own side now. Ichigo, please, Rukia urged. Ichigo shook his head. Just leave, he said, leave me alone. Rukia looked down, sorrowfully, but followed the others into the Senkaman, regretfully. I'm sorry. Kamen, what is your name? Ichigo asked. The mask stared blankly into the former substitute. Ichigo, I'm not Dash. It doesn't matter. I have another idea. Time doesn't work the same way in Hueco Mundo. According to Aizen-sama, where it had only a few hours in the world of the living, it had already been 2 days in Hueco Mundo. It was horribly lonely. After the display of her power, when she healed Grimjow's arm, she was escorted to her room, and that's where she stayed, for 2 days. She refused to leave. She had no reason to. Ichigo, welcome back, the spirit that claimed that he was Ichigo's Zanpakuto said, I know what you are here for, so I'll make this brief. Ichigo's deadpan expression did not change. Ichigo, I'm very sorry that we could not make this work. Are you? Or, are you just regretting what's about to happen? Ichigo said. The false spirit shut his eyes. I have no regrets that I'm sure that you would have traveled to Hueco Mundo regardless if I helped you. So powerful, Ichigo, I'm very proud of you. Despite of everything that has happened, you seem to understand that the world isn't very clear on your purpose. Even though you have made mistakes, you, and you alone made that choice. I only wish I was offered the same amount of choice in my life. Ichigo narrowed his eyes, faint red membrane of spiritual energy flowing around him. The false spirit reopened his eyes. I guess that this is the end. I guess it is. Ichigo, Kamen said, mask, placed over top a younger version of the false Zanpakuto spirit, I really disagree with this. It's just that it's too late now. It really is that I'm sorry, Kamen. The Zanpakuto spirit chuckled. Idiot damn why name isn't Kamen. Hayato stood on a rooftop, stalking the former substitute, as he walked home. The blinded Quincy smirked, saying, it's so sad that the sun had set. Ichigo was being followed. He knew it. It annoyed him. He wanted to fight it, but he knew his head was not in the right place. So he just let it happen. Hopefully they wouldn't attack. Nephew, that it's so nice to see you, sorta. Hayato said, jumping behind the teen. Ichigo turned around slowly, and glared at the man. Who that I'm guessing that you are Hayato that am my mother's brother. The Quincy bowed. It's great to meet you, young one. The feeling is not mutual. Leave me alone. I see. You've grown up to be so harsh, Ichigo, Hayato said. Ichigo shook his head, muttering, I don't know you. You will though that I guess my brother-in-law told you about me. What do you want? I'm late. Hayato chuckled, turning his head slightly. So impatient. I just want to help make your future decision a bit easier. No matter what you do, I'm not going to help you, Ichigo stated, with his determination to keep it that way written all over his face. Hayato chuckled again. I know. I know. But, who are you going to help? The blinded Quincy asked, arms crossed, are you going to bring the new age of darkness? Further the spread of the abyss? Rid the world of souls, like me? Or continue this dying age? A war is brewing, nephew, and there are not too many options. Know what you are fighting for. Then explain something to me. Why are you trying to get rid of all of the souls? Ichigo asked. Hayato grinned. It's not that I'm trying to get rid of souls, but more that I'm trying to find a replacement. Either way, it does not matter. The standardization of the world is my goal. How about you? I don't have any goals. I just want to stay out of the affairs. Then I guess that you are going to leave Inoue-san in Hueco Mundo, then. Ichigo paused. Excuse me. Inoue-san being brought back to the world of the living benefits me, more than it benefits you. Same to another party. Also, perhaps you were to kill Aizen, that would benefit the other parties too. Everything you do, nephew, is going to aid another side. You might want to try and understand what you are fighting for. Over the time that Ichigo had received his powers, he had thought on what was he doing. Was he doing the right thing? Was saving Rukia the way he did the right course of action? And now, if he did go save Inoue, what were the ramifications? Who's the right side all of this? Who? It's not worth it, thinking like this. Ichigo said, reaching into his pocket for his keys, I'm going to save her, regardless. He opened the door, to his home, and walked in, announcing that he was back. Yuzu poked her head out of the kitchen, and smiled. Oniai-chan, your dinner is in the fridge, she informed him. So, how was your day? Not so good, little sis, Ichigo said, thanks for dinner. Yuzu's smile faded. What happened? Ichigo shook his head, walking up the stairs, leading to his room. Do not worry about it. She had been missing for days. Tatsuki did not know where she had gone, or if she was alone, but she wasn't here anymore. And it burned on her conscience for hours. Ichigo. Kigo cried, clutching the back of the redhead, who merely responded with a grunt. "Morning, Ichigo," Mizuiro said from behind him. Ichigo responded with another grunt. The charmer smiled, grabbing a can of coffee from his bag, and presenting it to the former substitute. "You look a little haggard today. Study late, last night?" "Sure. I guess you can say that," Ichigo said, taking the can, and placing it in his own bag. Mizuiro and Kigo both stopped smiling. "Ichigo, is something the matter?" Kigo asked. The redhead did not respond. "Ichigo!" Tatsuki shouted, nearly out of breath. Ichigo slowly turned to her, eyes narrowed. "What?" he answered, bitterly. Tatsuki clenched her fists. Typically, she would respond to this response, but now was not the time. "Orihime isn't here," she said, "she not anywhere that I've been looking for her, and I can't feel where she is." To her surprise, Ichigo did not have a reaction. Tatsuki narrowed her own eyes, seeing this. "You know where she is?" she accused. Ichigo's expression did not shift. "If you don't know, how would I know? You are her best friend, after all." Tatsuki's eyes exploded into a fury, as she rushed Ichigo, grabbing him by his collar, and slamming him against a wall. "You know where she is," she screamed. "I just said that I didn't," Ichigo said. "Let me go, Tatsuki. Why aren't you being open with me? You know something I don't. Don't make me repeat myself. Then start being my friend, and tell me where she is." Kigo and Mizuiro dragged Tatsuki off of Ichigo, and tried, in vain, to calm her down. Ichigo stood upright and stared down Tatsuki. "I thought we were friends, that we've already been through so much together, then why are you pushing me away now? Why are you pushing me away again?" Ichigo's glare softened. "I guess that's true," he said. "Well then, as a friend, I guess I should say for you to stop associating with me." Tatsuki nearly fell limp. "It's for your own good," Ichigo said, walking away. "Ichigo, I hope you know what's going to happen," Isshin said, counseling his son. "This isn't the same as invading the Soul Society. There are actual ramifications for what should happen in Hueco Mundo." Ichigo closed his eyes. "I know that's why I'm going to create my own path," he answered. "I might not know who are the major players in this game, but I know that I have to do something. I'm not naive. I know that there are multiple faces to each of the sides involved. I'm not going to fight for a purpose I don't believe in." Ichigo grabbed Khan's Mod Soul pill, and popped it into his mouth. Ichigo's spirit form, instead of wearing the Shinigami Shikakusho, wore a long black trench coat, with the bottom of it tattered. Over the tips of his sleeves, he wore gloves, adorned by black and white X marks. His bottoms were also tattered, but they still resembled the bottoms of a Shinigami uniform. Even his sword was completely different. It no longer resembled a jagged, twisted malformation of a blade, but now was a black, straight blade, resembling a claymore. The guard was adorned by a silver eagle, spreading its wings. Khan blinked. What wait. You stupid a-hole. I've been stuck in that pill forever. You, at least, could have put me back into the toy. You were less annoying that way. Now, you annoying BSTRD, you have one job, and one job only. Make sure my sisters don't suspect a thing, Ichigo said. Do not fail me. Khan started to sweat. Good boy. Dad, I know my role. Isshin, upon hearing this, smiled warmly. I know, son. But it's my job to worry. Being a father and all, he said, laughing softly between sentences. Ichigo nodded, and left the house. You're just going to let him go? Alone? Khan asked, aren't you some super powerful badass? Why don't you help him? This is his fight that I don't need to impede on what's going to happen. Urahara sat outside his shop, smoking a pipe, knowing what was about to happen. He knew that he messed up. He knew that Hayato was probably banking on the fact that Ichigo would go to Hueco Mundo. He knew that this could have been prevented easily. But he didn't take those steps, and in the end, this mess was created. "Welcome, Kurosaki-san. I had a feeling you would be here," he said. Ichigo ignored him, and walked into the shop. "Haste makes waste, Kurosaki-san. Then stop wasting my time, and get me to Hueco Mundo," Ichigo said, angrily. Urahara smirked, and lead him down to the basement. "The Garganta has been prepared for a while. I was just waiting on a moment to use it. That I guess that time is now." "I guess it is," Ichigo said. "Alone? Confident, are we?" Uryu said, from on top a rock formation. Ichigo did not face him. Now the silent treatment. Someone needs to calm down, before they make a critical mistake. "Go home. I'm fine." "Ichigo," Sato said, from behind him, "we're here to help." "I don't need help. I'm not going to allow you to get a no-ways hope up, by yourself." "If you were to dash," Uryu started. "Failure is impossible for me, Quincy." Ichigo started walking toward the open Garganta. "We're not going to allow you to carry the burden by yourself, Ichigo," Sato said. "This burden is not the same burden you will be carrying." "Then let dash. I don't need your help. I would rather you stay ignorant, than fight the battles that I have to." "Go dash," Ichigo started, before Sato charging him, delivering a heavy punch, which the former substitute blocked, effortlessly, with the back of his wrist. Sato's eyes widened. "This is not a matter of strength. This is a matter of consequence. I understand my role. I understand on what I have to do. I understand the consequence. But what about you? Are you willing to do things that you might not like, because of what's going to happen?" "Don't talk like that, Kurosaki. This is a matter of saving Inoue-san. Don't try and be a mighty hero for her sake." Ichigo looked down. Urahara shaded his eyes. "I see then." Ichigo said, "Then let's go." "Are you three Ichigo's friends?" Yoruchi asked, spooking Kigo, Mizuiro, and Tatsuki. All three of them fell to the ground, panting heavily. The royal took this as a yes. "I see, Ichigo hasn't told anyone his burden." "Idiot. What does he mean, by consequence that he's going to save Orihime, right?" Tatsuki asked, worried. "That's all but guaranteed. What happens next, however, he may not like." "Captain Watanabe, prepare a mobility force for Hueco Mundo," Saito ordered, grinning. A thick man, with a long, white, bushy mustache, and an equally white slick back, bowed, and walked out of the office. The royal slouched back in his seat, which appeared to be a throne. "Go on, Sosuke-kun. Use your beautiful son to find the Hogyoku. I'll be waiting." Chapter 34, Winter's Wolves. "Chad, why don't you stand on my platform?" Ichigo asked, not out of worry, "but your platform isn't holding up as well." "It'll be easier. When did you become the expert of spiritual control?" Ishida asked, accusingly. "I'm surprised." Ichigo narrowed his eyes. "What, are you jealous? It's actually not that hard, when you think about it." Ichigo looked down, to see his absolutely perfect pathway. It was a bit strange, now that he thought about it. While Ichigo wasn't awful at controlling his powers, it was strange to be so good at it, so quickly. Rukia had said that controlling one's power was the most difficult element to being a Shinigami, and he picked up on it, nearly immediately. Even Yoruchi had expressed great praise on his control. Strange. Incredible. He's such a quick decision maker, Hayato said, standing on top of the Lost Noches, sensing the arrival of the trio. The Quincy in black smirked, as a small tremor was felt. I wonder what that was." "Hey, you feel that?" Sato asked. Uryu nodded. "We just got here and they are already alerted." "Aizen must have been expecting us," the Quincy replied. Ichigo crossed his arms. That doesn't feel like a hollow, he said. Ichigo then began to walk up the hallway. Hey, where are you going? Yuryu shouted. Out of here, I presume. I truly doubt that Inoue is down here, you see. We don't even know where we are. Well then, let's find out. As he said this, a massive hand reached out, and tried to crush the redhead, who reacted quickly, jumping out of the way. Never mind. I don't think that's the way out. Kurosaki, we need to get out of here. Yuryu shouted. Wow, you think? Sato's massive hand grabbed Ichigo by the collar of his coat, and dragged him away from the situation, who wordlessly accepted this. Quiet, idiot, the Quincy hissed. Ichigo rolled his eyes. So sorry, the redhead said, tonelessly, I guess we're going to be cowards and run with our tails between our legs. We need to get somewhere that won't collapse on us. We can't fight here. Who said anything about fighting? The hallway ran into a wide open room, which was circular in design, and had a tall ceiling. Sato and Yuryu sighed in relief, as Ichigo crossed his arms, walking toward the stairs, that seemed to lead to the exit. Kurosaki, wait! Yuryu shouted, as an errand car landed in front of the former substitute. Where are you going? He asked. Ichigo rolled his eyes. Past you, he said, ignoring his pre-scene. The hollow seemed to take great offense to this, as a claw moved out, from underneath his cloak, and grabbed the former substitute by his neck. You better think of a much more obtainable destination, then. And you better make sure you don't let me go. A quick arrow flew past Ichigo's ear, and into the covered part of the errand car's face, forcing him back. Idiot! Don't let yourself get captured like that. Yuryu scolded. If I thought that I was in any immediate danger, I doubt you would be the one to save me, Ichigo said, irritated. Now, if you value your life, you might want to leave us alone. We are the defenders of Hueco Mundo, the cloaked errand-car said, calmly, we cannot, and will not, allow you to pass. Another errand-car, the one that was chasing them from before, entered the room, and smirked. Seems that we were flanked, Yuryu said. Ichigo shook his head. Does not matter. I'll rid ourselves of this little prob dash, he started, before Sato elbowed him in the side of his head, sending him flying into a wall. Sorry, Ichigo, he said, we'll be the one to take care of this. Then hurry up, the redhead responded, gravely. The massive hollow roared, and punched at Yuryu, who jumped back, to avoid the attack. He drew his bow, and aimed it at the mask of the errand car, but the cloaked one interrupted his attack, slashing at him with his massive claws. Ishida! Sato shouted, charging an attack, when the massive errand car tried to smash him with his fist, which Sato managed to avoid narrowly. Awesome job, guys. Keep it up, Ichigo mocked, lounging against the wall. Shut up. We are forming a strategy. Yuryu exclaimed. Sure they are. Kamen said. Ichigo shrugged. The cloaked hollow took advantage of the confusion, and charged the Quincy once more, forcing Yuryu into a retreat. With nifty footwork, the Quincy managed to avoid the strikes, and knocked an arrow himself. The spirit arrow soared through the air, and despite it not connecting with his opponent, the arrow forced the cloaked hollow to think again, on his aggressiveness. Sato's opponent roared once more, slamming his massive fists into the ground again, which the teen dodged effortlessly. He reared back his armored fist, before dashing forward, violent white streaks exploding from the edges of the design. Fist met the covered part of the hollow's face, destroying the mask, as well as knocking him back, into a wall. Sato grunted, before focusing on the cloaked errand car, who looked at his partner, in disbelief. Ho how, he muttered, before a hole erupted in his throat. Before he could react to it, however, another blast finished the job, and turned his light off, for good. Time's up, Ichigo said, 2 fingers pointed, I think we wasted enough time. He pointed his fingers at the downed errand car, and destroyed, if he was still alive, what was left. Kurosaki. I thought Yuryu started. You thought. That was the problem. Ichigo responded, truthfully, this whole, we'll fight them garbage won't do anything but waste time. At least Chad cut to the chase, and knocked his opponent out, if not straight up killed him. All you were doing was bullshitting around. So that gives you the right to interrupt? If need be, of course. Ichigo crossed his arms, and walked toward the steps, ignoring the strong glare of contempt that the Quincy held. Hueco Mundo was empty. Some speculate that this is what the world was before the gift of dark was given to souls. A vast, empty, endless world, of stagnate time and existence. Despite its spiritual connection, Hueco Mundo was not an afterlife. Instead, it was merely a sanctuary for hollows, the most basic form of a soul. A hungry, needy soul. An incomplete soul, that has taken a form. Despite on whatever the world was before the rise of humans, Hueco Mundo stood as it was. Empty, here and forevermore. A world where completion does not exist. That's quite the distance. Ichigo said, eyeing a massive castle, extremely far away. You would think that this place would be so big. It'll take us forever to get there. Yuryu said. Sato nodded. Ichigo closed his eyes. Well, maybe I can try and open a Garganta. For FS sake, I told you that I don't think that you can do that. Cayman shouted. Opening a Garganta shouldn't be too hard. Basic hollows can do it. Are you implying that you are a hollow? Yuryu asked. No. But I do have hollow powers. Now, how did they do this? Ichigo replied, slowly moving his right hand back and forth. Yuryu facepalmed. There's no guarantee that this will work, Ichigo, Sato said, before a small ripple appeared, from thin air, from Ichigo's hand. Huh, got it, Beaches, the redhead celebrated, throwing his hands into the air. Oh my god. Oh my god, Cayman and Yuryu said, blankly. Where does it go? Sato asked. Ichigo paused, before looking toward the ground. I don't have an answer, he said, but, it sure does beat walking, right? Sato and Yuryu mulled over the thought, before agreeing with him. A tall woman, with a cracked hollow's mask, resembling one of a ram, stood, with a worried expression on her face, when an audible crackling was heard, from behind her. A Garganta, she said, calmly, turning to face it, as Sato and Yuryu fell out of it, and into the sand. Patience is a virtue, Quincy, Ichigo said, calmly walking out of the Garganta. You nearly got Chad killed. Your crappy Garganta nearly got us killed. You messed up making it. I acknowledge this. Your panicking, however, caused dash. Hello. Are you alright? The Arrancar female called out, ending the arguing. Ichigo knocked an eyebrow. Hello, pretty lady, he said, we're trying to get to that castle over there. Could you be of some assistance? She turned toward the castle, then back at the group, with a smile. Sure. Wait, I actually have an issue myself. If you can help me first, then I'll get you to Las Noches, okay, she said. Kurosaki, we don't have time for this, Yuryu whispered. What do we have to do? The female Arrancar jumped down to them. I need you to help me find my daughter, her name is Nell. Wait, you have a daughter? Ichigo said, hollows can reproduce. No, we can't. But Nell is different, and she's important to me. Ichigo tilted his head. I guess we can help. You have any idea on where she's at? The female Arrancar nodded. Then we are down. Excellent. I'll get us some transportation, she said, clapping her hands, as a giant worm emerged from the ground. At least we're making progress. Ichigo said, sitting with crossed legs, have you seen her yet, Neliel? I have not. Neliel replied, softly. I still can't believe that we're doing this. Yuryu said, bitterly. Comet. She said that she would take us to the castle after we find her daughter, okay? Still. I understand, Quincy-san. It must be hard to aid a hollow. Wait, no, that dash. Stop being a baby, Quincy, and try, for once in your life, be a decent individual, Ichigo mocked, earning a deep, guttural growl from the Quincy. How long has she been missing? Sato asked. Nelio looked up, in thought. About 3 days. Ichigo and Yuryu narrowed their eyes. Do you really deserve her back? Yuryu asked. Mother of the friggin' year. Ichigo said. Look at that, Jin said, looking into a screen, displaying the 3 invaders, on the way to the castle. Aizen clenched his fists. Ichigo seems to be a lot more powerful than he was before, huh? Jin, make sure the espada ready. We need a little more time. Hueco Mundo might be vast, but it's very easy to not get lost here, Neliel said with a small, sincere smile on her face. Ichigo's head bobbed, as if he was trying desperately to stay awake. Go to sleep, Kurosaki, Yuryu said, also half awake, we haven't made any progress. Jesus Christ. Ichigo muttered. Nel, the female Arankar shrieked, stirring everyone out of their near slumber. Neliel jumped off of the worm, and ran to a young girl, sitting in the sand. Hey, Neliel. Was wondering when you were going to find me. Nell said, happily. Neliel put her hands on her hips. Find you. We aren't playing hide and seek. You had me worried sick. Oh, I didn't know dat. Facepalms all around. Can we get to the castle now? Ichigo said. Oriheim didn't know much about the abyss. Of what Rukia told her, it was a blank, empty void of darkness. However, everything that she had seen indicated the opposite. Well, not exactly the opposite. The abyss seemed to be a void of souls. Nothing but empty, incomplete souls looking for something that would make them complete. And she was immune to it. The abyss was, in essence, a toxic cloud, poisoning those who entered. Corrupting their being. Making them berserk monsters. How could an evil like the abyss exist? Orheim sat on her couch, and placed her hands on her lap. She couldn't do anything now, but maybe. An empty throne, looking down on the abyss, sat still, waiting for its master to return. What are you doing here anyway? Neliel asked. To get a friend back, Ichigo said, as Nell played with his spiky locks. Neliel turned her attention forward. What's the matter? He asked. Neliel looked down. The Lord of Hueco Mundo. He's destroying the already fragile balance of our world, the abyss is starting to spread. Is that why you were so worried? Nell asked. Neliel chuckled. I was worried, before you were missing for 3 days. But, truthfully, the spread has made me a bit paranoid to allow you to roam alone. The abyss is spreading. Why? Hueco Mundo hovers on the imbalance of darkness. Despite on what it looks like, the abyss is not darkness, but merely empty. It can only exist where light exists. A shadow can only exist where there is light. How cute. Ichigo, do you know why they took your friend? Likely for her immunity to the abyss. Whatever Aizen wants, it's in the abyss. I see. How interesting. Neliel, do you think that we can save this place? Neliel nodded. Likely, but Aizen has to be stopped. It is the only way. Ichigo looked at his hand, and exhaled. I see. Then I shall do my best. Where the hell are they? Renji asked, looking around, as Rukia calmly tried to find their spiritual signatures. Gah, the spirit particles are so thick, she said, before catching sight of a worm, traveling through the desert. Wow, these hollows are pretty bizarre. Ichigo, isn't that Kuchiki-san and Arabai-san? Sato asked. Ichigo refused to open his eyes. Are they your friends? Neliel asked. Yeah. They are my friends. Now, I do wonder what they are doing here, Ichigo said, might as well give them a ride. They're probably here for the same purpose. Orihime truly did not know on her purpose here. There were rumors that she was brought here as a catalyst, to stir up a war, but that doesn't seem to be the case. The Hogyoku was what Aizen-sama was seeking, that he had said that it was in the abyss, but who was the owner? Woman, I have news for you, Ulquiorra announced, shocking Orihime out of her thoughts. She turned toward him, slowly. I see that you are finally dressed like us, he said, it fit you. The news, please, Orihime said, sharply. Very well then. Your allies have invaded Hueco Mundo, and are nearly lost no chase by the passing moments. Orihime's knees nearly gave out. This wasn't supposed to happen. Why, she asked. To save you, for there is no other reason, Ulquiorra said, it will fail though. Even if they do reach you, they cannot free you from your only purpose. Which is? Orihime looked down. I am giving you an order. Speak on what your purpose is. For what purpose does your mind and body exist for? Yes, sir.my mind and body exist for Aizen-sama, and his will. A extremely tall young girl, with a single, extremely sharp horn protruding from the right side of her head, surrounded by long, wavy white hair, sat, holding an orb of light, looking on a living tree. She waited for a being that could give rise to her desires. She knows that someone is on the way. And she knows that the Witch of the Abyss will be the test that separates those who are not worthy and the true. Reforming Noel was not an option. Neither was Cayenne, nor any of the Abyss Walkers. She needed a truly immune body. She had a feeling that one was coming her way soon. Don't worry, mother, she said, smirking, your life hunt is coming to end, as mine shall be soon wrought. Chapter 35, My Intro to Let You Know. Idiot. What were you thinking coming to Hueco Mundo without us? Rukia screamed into Ichigo's expressionless face. I was going to go alone, but those plans have been bunked, he said. Renji shook his head. Rukia's mouth opened, but said nothing, as if she was having trouble finding what she was going to say next. Are you literally this stupid? Apparently so. Can you stop complaining? This topic has grown bothersome. So, do you not care at all, or something? Renji asked. Ichigo responded with a nod. If Inoue-san wasn't here, I wouldn't have even bothered. Rukia said, crossing her arms. Ah, you're just so angry. It's adorable. The hatred that burns for you is intense, Kurosaki. You must be extremely brave to want to storm into Los Noches. It's a very valuable trait to have. Neliel said. Ichigo shrugged. We weren't going to allow Aizen to take Inoue-san without facing any punishment, Uryu said, passionately. Ichigo cupped his fingers. Such a noble cause, the female Arrancar said. Ichigo's silence was unnerving. Even when she thought that she was doing the right thing, she still couldn't get the result she wanted. All Orihime wanted to do was keep her friends safe. If she wasn't going to be useful in the war, she could at least buy them time. Here we are, the walls of Los Noches. Neliel said, motioning to the massive walls, this is your destination, right? Ichigo nodded, jumping off of the worm. Thanks, that we'll take it from here, he said, sternly, take care, Neliel, Nell. Ichigo's leaving. Why? Nell cried. He has some important work to do, Neliel explained, I don't think he wants us getting in the way. Thank you for your assistance, Rukia said, with a bow. Neliel smiled and motioned back to the massive worm. Nell whimpered. But Ichigo can't leave. We need to play some more. Sorry, Nell. He has to go. No. Nell, please, Ichigo said, stay with Neliel. Nell's eyes started to water. Now, how are we going to get in? Uryu asked. Ichigo looked up and frowned. Through. We're going through the wall. The former substitute's right hand started to glow a bright red energy. And how our dash, Renji started, before the wall exploded, revealing a deep hole. Ichigo turned to him, wearing an impassive expression on his face. Like that. It's pretty dark in here. Sato said. And this hole goes on forever. Yuryu said. Renji grinned. Then leave it to me, he exclaimed, I give us a light. Ichigo narrowed his eyes. With what? Renji's grin grew. Let me show ya. Hado 31. Shikaho. A red orb exploded in his hand, before shrinking violently. Rukia giggled. I can't say that I saw you as the conservative type. Yuryu said. Look at you, trying to be a cool guy, Rukia said, mockingly, trying to skip the chant, even though you know you're bad at Kido. Renji looked down, in mortification. I guess I should dash, Rukia started. And God said, let there be light, Ichigo said, as his own Shikaho formed, in his hand, and there was light. When did you become so good at Kido? Renji whined. Don't worry about it. Impressive. It's much larger than Renji's, with half of the effort. Very impressive, Rukia complimented, earning Ichigo a glare from the red-headed Shinigami. Ichigo smirked in response. 5 hallways. From the hole that the group had invaded from, led to 5 hallways. I refuse to believe that this was a coincidence, Ichigo said, crossing his arms, well, I believe this is where we split up. He walked toward the hallway in the middle. Wait a minute. Yuryu shouted, just like that. Ichigo paused and turned toward the rest. We're due to find her if we take all 5 routes. So that's exactly what we are going to do. No speech. No good lucks. Nothing, Rukia said, with a smirk. Ichigo smiled back. You got me. I'm dry. Well, I have something, Renji said. What, another dumb Kido failure for us to mock, Ichigo said. The vice captain narrowed his eyes. Not this time. Actually, I have a chant. Really, Renji? Rukia said. Hey, it's motivational. When I was in the 11th division, we did them before every mission. Yeah, but they're kinda lame, Rukia said. Hey, I think it's lame too, but dash. Then why are we doing it? Ichigo asked, crossing his arms, geez, this is just a waste of time. If you shut the hell up, it'll be over quicker. Ichigo conceded the point. Alright, lend me your hands. Renji said, and the other 4, begrudgingly, huddled together, we at this moment head into a decisive battle. Have faith that our blades will not shatter. Have faith that our hearts will not waver. And even if our paths diverge, we all share a heart of iron. Swear that even if the ground beneath us should be rent asunder, we will live and return to this place alive. The group split up after that, each member, disregarding Ichigo, of the party entered their own hallway. Ichigo merely shook his head slowly, saying, that was really lame, Renji. He walked into the middle lane, completely stoic. I miss Ichigo. Nell said, we could be playin' endless tag or something. You're so boring, Nellio. The elder Erenkar shook her head. I'm sure Ichigo will be back to share his regards, she said, but he needed to do something. Don't worry, Nell. Nell sighed, before jumping off the worm, and running off. Nellio snapped toward the fleeing Erenkar. Hey, where are you going? She shouted, using a sonido to intercept her path, to see that she was no longer there. Where did she go? She asked herself. Then a better question came to mind. How does she keep getting away from me? What the foo dash, Ichigo said, as Nell flew out of a garganta, and into his face. Ichigo. I missed you so much, she said. It's been 10 minutes. Get off me. Nell hugged his face tighter. I missed you so much. Ichigo ripped Nell from his face and placed her gently on the ground. Christ, child. You're really becoming a bother. I missed you dash. Silence, Nell. Silence. Ichigo turned around, and looked up, into the ceiling. You can come out now, he said. The sounds of footsteps sounded, before a being fell from the rafters, and in front of the duo. Lame. Ichigo said as the dust cloud billowed. A figure rose from the cloud, and the dust dissipated around him. Hey! What's with that non-reaction? The Arrancar asked. Dordoni Alessandro del Sacaccio just gave you a magnificent entrance, is this all that I get? Ichigo refused to change his expression. I'll show you. The former substitute twisted his neck. Wow, this guy is lame. Nell shouted, cheerfully. Be quiet, Nell. Now, introduce yourself, so we can begin our fight. I'm not fighting you, Ichigo said, crossing his arms. Why not? Because I don't want to waste any time on you. Be gone. Fine then. I'll just get this started myself. Dordoni slashed his Zanpakuto at Ichigo, who refused to raise a guard. The blade stopped, hovering about an inch away from Ichigo's neck. Dordoni's eyes widened, in horror. I said that I refused to fight you because I didn't want to waste any time on you. Not that fighting you would take any of my time. Zamari Ruros was biding his time, waiting to see which invader was going to be his first opponent. By the sudden appearance of a Dordoni's obliterated corpse in his room, he had his answer. Ichigo stood in the hole, stoic. Hello buddy, Ichigo said, sorry about that. Zamari stood up. You must be Kurosaki Ichigo, he said, I see dash. You must be dead, Ichigo said, with a sadistic smirk, as he blasted a Siro through the chest of the Arrancar. That is not desirable, Okiura said, walking through the halls of Hueco Mundo, that child seems to be growing stronger the longer he lives. Maybe you should have killed him before, a lanky, extremely tall Arrancar said, don't be too concerned with the brat. Zamari was a weakling anyway. To be taken by surprise by trash like that. Pitiful. He's much more powerful than you think. He killed Yami rather effortlessly, and nearly defeated me. Nearly. Ha. You came back looking like you just went through a garbage compactor. Besides, even with the limiter, you and Yami should have handled that garbage easily. Okiura ignored the comment and tried to walk past him. So, what about Aizen-sama's favorite pet? How's the doll doing? Why are you asking this, Neutra? Okiura asked. Neutra shrugged. I dunno. Maybe I could help tame her. How are you doing in that regard? The green-eyed Arrancar ignored the question and walked past him. What's gotten into him? Neutra said, before laughing. Nell, we are continuing on, Ichigo said, sternly. Nell looked on at the two dead Arrancars, and back at Ichigo, who had already left. Ichigo, she said before she followed suit. A coffin sat still. Cold. Lifeless. Like the remains that rested inside. Hashwalth stared down at it, not fully knowing their next move. Hayato had moved quicker than they could have ever expected, and now that Ichigo was dying, there was no real reason to go through him. Besides, he was likely to never realize his Quincy powers. Such a waste, he said. His attendant walked into the room and bowed. Hashwalth-sama, what shall we do about this? She asked. The rest of the Sternritter grow restless, especially with the abyss spreading into the castle. The blonde Quincy closed his eyes. The throne of desire is still empty. Neither Abaddon nor Gehinnom has come to claim it. They world borders on imbalance. When shall His Majesty awaken again? The age of darkness is waiting its ruler. This is the problem. Even when he does awaken, how will we further his goal? Abaddon has surrounded the throne. We need to activate it, through the primordial light. Hashwalth opened his eyes and walked toward the exit of the tomb. Ichigo didn't know much. But he knew that all routes led to the end. The abyss. The status quo. Darkness. Led by Yawatch. Nothingness. Led by Hayato. Ichigo knew nothing. He wasn't aware of what he had to do. He wasn't aware of what was the right thing to do. He also knew that he was going to die soon, and thus, he knew that he didn't have much time. Darkness, despite on all that he knew, the darkness was controllable. Yawatch controlled it well. What if Ichigo could force the world into a permanent imbalance, controlled by him? In fact, he knew he could. He didn't have much life to live, so what if he? No, Ichigo, he said, irritated. He had no time and not the slightest clue on where he should start. But maybe if he had more time. Maybe.